Thank you for joining us today, ladies and gentlemen. Today's guest is Chris Durbin. Chris is an infantry veteran of the United States Army with multiple deployments to the Middle East and Africa. Chris has deployed to Iraq, Somalia, Bahrain as a member of the 25th Infantry Division and the Illinois National Guard. He's also served in an Indiana unit that was a long-range reconnaissance unit. He did time with the Triple Canopy security and did a deployment to Afghanistan with them. He also worked security for the Israeli Consulate out of Chicago, and he is currently a correctional officer in the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So please enjoy my guest today, Chris Durbin. All right, Chris Durbin, thank you for being in here today, sir. I really appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope your drive up was okay.
Oh yeah, it's not too far, so it wasn't bad. A little rainy this morning, which
Yeah,
stinks, but it's not bad.
we got a lot to talk about, so let's just go ahead, and I want to dive right in with your early childhood, growing up, where you grew up, how you grew up.
Okay.
I know you're from Effingham.
Yep.
What was life like for you growing up? Do you have siblings?
Yeah. So I have an older sister. She's 5 years older than me, and then I have a brother that's a year younger than me. Grew up in Effingham, born and raised. Mom and dad got divorced when I was really young. She remarried, and we lived out in a double wide trailer out south of town till I was about 5 years old.
Okay.
And my mom and dad both worked two jobs growing up, so they were always working. And
Sure.
they finally saved up enough to build a house, and my mom still lives in that house to this day.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's really awesome. It's not the whole you grow up, you're from a lower middle class family, and my brother and sister and I shared a room till I was in the first grade.
Okay.
And it's this little double wide trailer. So, three of us sleeping in one room for years. And then we finally get to our new house, and everything just kind of went from there. And I got to grow up seeing how hard my mom and dad worked.
Sure.
And that kind of drove me to kind of where I'm at today and where my brother and sister are at today. So
Blue collar.
blue collar, very, my dad worked, in public service, really.
Okay.
My mom has worked kind of like as a secretary, a billing clerk, at the hospital. She works at Effingham Ophthalmology now.
Okay.
Doing the billing and stuff for them.
Right.
My dad grew up. My stepdad. When I say my dad, my stepdad raised me.
Okay.
And so, big guy, 6'4", 260, just big dude.
Oh, wow.
But the biggest teddy bear you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
But he worked at the hospital as an ER technician.
Okay.
He was a paramedic. Growing up, so he saw a lot of stuff before I even realized kind of what my life would get thrown into and the stuff I would see later on, and just seeing how he did that. And
Sure.
and later,
First responder and
Yeah.
car wrecks and all the stuff.
it's a crazy world for anybody that's not in the public service and police, fire, EMS, anything like that. Like it's kind of tough to wrap your head around. Like you see it from the outside looking in, but when you're actually there dealing with it, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
And he was never an aggressive guy. He was never he never brought his work home with him. You could tell some stuff kind of would mess with him here and there, dealing with babies or dealing with anything like that.
Oh, man, yeah.
But he never let it get to him.
Yeah. My daughter is an ER nurse. And I don't think people realize how much, even in our little small rural areas, how much, they deal with a lot. They really do. So, okay, that's your early influence. As far as like hobbies, what were your hobbies? Or were you a kid that had BB guns and was running down in the creeks? Were you sports? Was it?
Yeah, so we never, growing up, we never really, it didn't have BB guns, nothing like that, but me and my brother, as I was growing up, I had some ADD issues, and they didn't. So whenever I was in kindergarten, they're like, "Well, he's very smart, but he gets his work done early, and then he just messes with the other kids, and it throws him off. So we don't think he's necessarily ready to go to first grade just because of that issue. So they held me back a year and kind of put me in this transitional grade, which ended up putting me in the same grade as my brother. So growing up, a lot of people thought we were twins. I'm like, no, I'm a year older, but
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
So it was nice. But we grew up, I mean, being close in age. We got the competitiveness
Oh yeah.
between the two of us, and just being boys, just going at it, you know, fighting everything.
Do you think that was good?
I think it's really good. I think that brought us to where we're at today. Our competitiveness and everything that we do, we compete.
Sure.
So it's just like, it doesn't matter what it is, and
It makes you stronger.
We're like,
too,
hey,
doesn't
you
it?
know, we're just here for fun. Like, I don't play that way. I'm competitive in everything. It doesn't
Right.
matter.
Yeah.
So we grew up playing sports, baseball, football, ran track. I ended up in high school. I was trying out for the baseball team. I ended up, you know, like, hey, this isn't going to be for me. I'd rather, you know, run track, stay in shape for the football season coming up, because football was kind of my big thing. And so my brother played baseball. I played football and ran track. And then we just growing up, just always sports, always on the go. We were, you know, in grade school, we played baseball and football in the same season. So like we would leave baseball practice 10 minutes early to make it to football practice on time. And then we, you know, back and forth. So my parents working 2 jobs, they were always on the go.
Right. At what point did the military start calling to you? Was it from a young age? Was it in high school? Was it from playing video games? What drew you to the service?
So, yes. So the video games thing, we didn't really play a lot of video games growing up. I mean, I'm old enough where like we had the NES system growing up, you know, the first Nintendo that came out.
Okay.
And I never really got into video games. My brother really did. I was kind of the tactician. I was like, hey, this is what you need to do. And then he could do it.
Right.
And so I would create the plan for him and everything.
But you were making op orders early on.
Yeah. So I think it was, I mean, I knew I was going to join the military at a young age. So growing up, my great grandpa on my mom's side had a rule, and it was every man that was in our family, regardless of what branch you did, you had to serve the minimum
At least one
enlistment. At least one enlistment,
Yep.
whatever branch you want to, but every male had to do it.
Right.
After he died, it kind of went away, but I still have several cousins that are in the military. My brother's in the military now. He's an EOD tech for the Air Force.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
And really cool. But I knew when my mom was telling me about that, I kind of was like, you know, I'm going to do it. From probably about 6th grade, I was like, I knew I was going to join the military. And I was like, dead set, I'm going to join the Marine Corps. And then I started learning about the SEALs and the stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. Well, long story short, I ended up joining the Army, which is where I'm at today.
Yeah.
So,
so you enlisted right out of high school?
no, so I was one of those kids. As you can tell, I'm a shorter guy. I'm 5'5". Growing up playing football.
Yeah, but you're stocky.
Yeah,
so that's going to help you, I would think, in like football. And,
Yeah. So, but growing up, everybody's like, well, you're too short. You're never going to be able to play college football. You're never going to be able to do this. You have all these dreams, but you're not going to be able to do it because you're too short. And I'm like, and growing up, I had a no quit attitude for everything. And it's one of those things where I was like, okay, we'll see how this goes and go from there. So high school football went really well for me. I did pretty well. And then I took the ASVAB my junior year, like every high school does usually. I don't know if they still do, but they, at least at the time, we did.
Right.
And I had signed an option 40 contract, which was to go to Ranger Battalion.
Okay.
So go to RASP and all that stuff. At the time, it was RIP.
Right. Yeah. When I was in, it was RIP. Yeah.
Yeah. So it started out as RIP, and then they changed it to RASP. And
Right.
so I had an option 40 contract, and I was waiting to leave. I was still in the delayed entry program.
Right.
And as I was waiting to leave, I got a couple offers from some schools to play football. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go do that. Everybody always told me I would never be able to do it. And so I'm like, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to prove everybody wrong.
Right.
So I went to college. I went to McMurray College in Jacksonville, which is no longer a school. It closed down. But I went there. I played about half a season of football, realized like, hey, this isn't for me. I got knocked out twice in 4 games. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
all right, this ain't for me.
Yeah,
I'm pretty much over this.
Right.
And I knew I was going to join the Army, and this is 2000 2006 going into 2007.
Okay, so the war in Iraq and Afghanistan
yeah, so it's
still
like
going on.
It's still going on, and I was like, I want to get in the war before it gets over.
Right.
And so I dropped out of school, joined the Army, and when I rejoined,
all right, I want to stop you. So you wanted to go to war. I mean, that was the point. That's the whole point of enlisting. Yep. It's like, I want to get in on. Okay, yep. Well, all right, yeah.
So I wanted to be in Ranger Battalion. That's what, like, because the Rangers are the best. I've got several friends that are Rangers, and that's what I wanted to do. So when I dropped out of college and went back to re-sign a contract, they couldn't get me an option for it anymore. The best they could get me was airborne school, and I'm like, absolutely terrified of heights, but let's jump out of airplanes.
It's different
because it makes sense, you know.
Right? Yeah.
Guys terrified of heights, but we'll just voluntarily jump out.
I want to go back to. So you was originally going to enlist on a Ranger contract.
Yes.
And then, was that an issue getting out of that whenever college came up? Was there anything there? Or, I mean, as far as, obviously you hadn't signed.
Right.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big deal. Because anytime when you sign a contract, you can get out of that contract up until you leave. So like, there's no, like until you sign at MEPS and you swear in, you're not
okay. So
I hadn't sworn in or done anything.
All right.
I just had that contract written up, ready for me to go.
You go do the college thing.
Yep.
And then it doesn't work out. Yep. So then now you come back and say, hey, this is what I want to do. Okay, I got you. All right. And so then, and at that time you couldn't get Ranger, but you could get guaranteed airborne.
Correct.
Okay. And you were infantry, 11 Bravo.
11 Bravo. That's what I wanted to do. I was like, I didn't think of any jobs out there. I'm like, there's so many jobs now that I've been in long enough. I'm like, I should have done this.
Right.
But I'm like, nope, I want to be infantry. I want to fight. This is what I want to do.
Okay.
So I got airborne infantry, left in January of 2007. For basic training down at Fort Benning. Yeah. It wasn't too bad, honestly. It was
Georgia's a lot warmer than it is here.
Yeah. It was a little cold starting out, those cold mornings, doing PT, and you're just like, you're wearing your sweats. We had the gray sweats at the time.
Yeah. That's what they had when I was in.
And so it was nice. A little cold, but like did my 19 weeks of OSIT, one station unit training down at Fort Benning.
Right.
And then graduated basic training, and then reported to airborne school. Well, at the time, when I was going to airborne school, they didn't have all the slots available. So they're like, hey, anybody that's going to be a Ranger, you're going to get front loaded. The rest of you guys are going to go to airborne hold. So I spent 3 weeks living in a trailer at airborne hold right across from the graduation field, just doing PT every morning, doing dumb stuff, cleaning the grass out of the parade fields, just dumb private stuff.
Oh, yeah. And that's miserable time.
Yeah. So then we get over to airborne school, and I run into my buddy who's going to Ranger Battalion. We're in the same stick. And
are you kidding me?
So he got there three weeks early, and we're still on the same stick. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! Like,
that's
all
wild.
Right, you know? And so we got to talking while we were there, and he's like, hey, the Rangers are recruiting guys still. Like, come to these meetings with us. I'm like, all right, cool. So I go to these meetings, and they're like, well, we're not taking any more. We're not taking 11 Bravos. We're taking more like specialty MOSs, like 13 Foxes and stuff like that. I'm like, well,
the greatest MOS in the history of the Army. That's what I was. I was a 13 Fox.
I like 13 Foxes. I've worked. I'm a mortarman now.
Right. Really? 11 Charlie?
Yeah. So okay. I was 11 Bravo for 15 years, and then to get promoted, I stepped over into the Charlie world, which every 11 Bravo in the history of the world will make fun of mortarmen all day. Until you become a mortarman,
right? Then you realize
it is so stressful, especially being a leader, because there's so much stuff that goes into making sure those rounds land where they need to. There's so much math that's involved. There's so much computer stuff that goes on, and it's like if you're 10 mils off,
right? It's a big
it's a big deal. Someone's going to be hurting.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing that for the last 3 years, and it's stressful, but I like it. It's different. Yeah. It's a smaller group of guys. Instead of running a whole platoon, I'm running 12 guys.
Yeah, I'll be darned. Yeah, well, that's cool. All right, so we're at airborne school. Your buddy's talking to you about doing the Ranger thing. They're like, hey, we're full up right now. Yep. We can't. So take it from there.
So I graduate airborne school. So I get to basic training in January. It's cold. I graduate airborne school in June of 2007, and it is 105 degrees.
It's
It's just
miserable.
blazing hot.
I went to
in Georgia.
airborne school in August.
Yeah, so it's just blazing hot
Right.
in Georgia, and so we get done, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to Fort Rich in Alaska, because when you graduate basic training towards the end, they tell you like, hey, this is where you're going. Like, hey,
Okay.
they pull everybody in. They're like, hey, you're going to. So everybody from my company was like Korea or Hawaii.
All right.
My whole platoon, 95% of those dudes went to Ranger Battalion. So like we were like a special platoon basically.
Okay.
95% of those dudes were going to Ranger Battalion. A couple of them got recruited by the Green Berets while we were there.
Okay.
Because they just started that program up.
The 11
And then
X-ray
there were three of them, three guys from my platoon out of the entire company went to Alaska. It was me and two other guys.
All right.
And
Now, see, I would think usually an 11 Bravo that gets airborne on an enlistment, you're usually going to end up in the 82nd.
82nd, 170,
Or the
173rd
173rd.
if you're really lucky.
If you're lucky, yeah. But, okay.
Which I would have loved the 173rd. A lot of guys hate it, but like just being that close, living in Italy and
Just
and being that close to everything, 72 hours out, 48 hours out to going anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, but you get stuck in Alaska.
So I get stuck in Alaska, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to Fort Rich. It's the airborne unit. Like, cool, whatever. I get my orders. They're like, hey, you're going to Fort Wainwright. I'm like, wait, they're not airborne. They're like, yeah, no. And they don't deploy. I'm like, you're kidding me, right? Like, I joined to deploy. I want to go.
Right.
So I get my orders. I come home. I do 2 weeks of recruiting, like hometown recruiting,
Right.
after airborne school, and then I go up to Alaska. I get to Anchorage, and they don't have a flight for me to go from Anchorage to Fairbanks. And I'm like stuck in the airport. I'm a 19-year-old kid. I've been sheltered pretty much my whole life.
Sure.
I never grew up. I didn't do drugs. I didn't really drink or anything like that. I'm a 19-year-old kid just lost in the sauce,
Well, yeah.
not knowing what's going on. And so this guy comes up to me and he's like, hey, are you a new soldier here? I'm like, yeah. I was like, I'm supposed to be going to Fort Wainwright, but they don't have a ticket to get me to Fairbanks. He's like, all right, come with me. Well, come to find out, it was some E5 from Fort Rich. He's like, I'll give you a ride. I'm going to base. He's like, I'll give you a ride. I'll hook you up with the people that need to talk to you and whatever, and they'll get it figured out. So I go up there.
Well, thank God he was there.
Yeah, I would have had no idea what to do.
Well, yeah.
No idea. So he brings me to reception at Fort Rich.
Okay.
And they're like, you're airborne qualified? I'm like, yeah. I was like, I'm supposed to be going to Fort Wainwright. They're like, well, hey, our guys are deployed right now. I was like, if we can, we're going to train you up for 2 weeks and we'll just send you over there. Because apparently they had lost some guys over in Iraq and they needed some replacements. And I'm like, watching Band of Brothers, I'm like, great, I'll be a replacement. You
Right,
know?
yeah.
Not the same, but you have that going on in your mind.
You're not one of the boys.
Yeah. And so I'm like, well, this is what I joined up for, so let's do it. So they made some phone calls and they come back and they're like, hey, no, Wainwright needs you up there. They're training up for deployment. I'm like, I thought they didn't deploy. They're like, no, they definitely do. So they've got me a ticket the next day up there. Got to Fort Wainwright, got to reception, got all set up, and ended up going to 1-5 infantry, which was 117 at the time, and then it was 117 of the 172nd.
Okay.
And then 172nd got moved to Germany, and we reflagged to the 25th. So 117 ended up becoming 1-5 infantry.
Okay.
So I went to Bravo Company 1-5 infantry, where I met some of the greatest dudes, some of the greatest leaders that I have ever had the privilege of knowing.
Right.
And my career just kind of started from there.
I'll be darned. What did you think of Alaska?
I hate the cold. Alaska ruined the cold for me. So if I
Yeah.
can move somewhere warm later on in life, it's going to be. Honestly, like if you're an outdoorsman, it is the best place you could ever want to be.
See, I had always talked to guys that have been stationed there, and the hunting is, it's Alaska. That's one of the best places on the planet.
You go up to Dark Horse or you go up to Coldfoot, north of the Arctic Circle, and you caribou hunting, moose hunting, Dall sheep, bear. I mean, anything you can hunt. I mean, it's there.
What was, as being an infantryman and going out and doing field training, that had to have been miserable.
Yeah. So I got up there. So I'll start with this. So I got up there, I got to my unit, when I got to my unit, it's still 2007. The Army was still pretty awesome
Right.
at the time. But I got hazed bad. So the first week I was there, they're like, hey, we're going to go do some cleaning outside, Sergeant Major wants some stuff clean. Cool. They march us out towards the pond, and my squad jumps me, throws me into the pond. September. It's cold.
Right.
Like,
I'm
free,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, this sucks.
Welcome to the
Yeah.
Army. Yeah.
And then the first snow of the season, I got jumped again. They carried me outside, and I think they shoved snow in every orifice that I had. Like there was no and then it was just constant, just smoke sessions every day, and just knowledge tests, smokings, so I got smart real fast because I was like, I'm sick of getting smoked.
Sure.
Like I don't these are things that I should know, and I'm gonna learn this stuff. So I got smart real fast because I was just getting just smoked.
That's the life of an infantryman, right there.
Yeah. So
when you're a private and you're coming to a new unit, that's the way it goes. Yeah.
So I met a guy, my first team leader. He kind of brought me under his wing. He was like, hey, it's not that bad. Like just go through it. It'll get better.
Right.
And he's from Ohio.
Okay.
And I'm still friends with his ex-wife to this day. And they took me under their wing, and big Ohio State fans. I'm a big Ohio State fan. So like every Saturday we go watch the games at their house. She'd make us Thanksgiving dinner, and it was great. But in between, the training and stuff, training is good. My first PT test up there, negative 15 degrees, running a 2 mile. You're just like,
that's
man,
miserable.
this is rough.
Yeah.
You do push-ups and sit-ups inside. It's not bad, but your run's outside. In Alaska, when you get there, they give you a small blue book, basically of all the rules and regulations for the base. If it is negative 30 or warmer, you're PTing outside.
Holy cow.
So we were doing 3 mile runs 3 days a week. If it was negative 30 or warmer, we're outside.
My first, since being in artillery, it was a battery instead of a company. But my first battery commander, remember he had a certificate on the wall in his office, and it was like maybe was it the -50 club or something like that, that if you were out in the field for so many days and the temperature stayed under -50, then they gave him this little certificate or something.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where he was up there, but man, that's cold.
Yeah. So and it's the same.
I mean, like digging fighting positions and all that. There's no way you can, with a freaking E-tool, you can break ground to dig like a foxhole.
Yeah. So up in Alaska, you have what they call permafrost. So after about 2 feet underneath the surface, it's just ice. It's just rock solid. You're not getting in there.
Yeah.
But we still, you go out there, you're digging. You go through what they call ALIT, which is Advanced Light Infantry Training.
Okay.
But they do it cold weather style. You sleep outside in just a sleeping bag with, negative weather. So get used to it. They teach you how to build little snow shelters to block the wind and stuff like that. So
Mickey Mouse boots. And
Mickey Mouse boots, skis, snowshoes, everything. So you learn how to do the cold weather stuff. We're ruck marching when it's snowing outside. You put your little yak tracks on, we call them.
Okay.
You tape them to your boots so they don't fall off, because if you don't wear them, you're slipping and sliding and falling every 100 meters, and doing that for 12 miles.
I was gonna say, how long would you guys hump like with snowshoes and stuff? What was like some of your
snowshoes?
longest?
Not often. Whenever I was in weapons squad, we had a squad leader who would take us up to Birch Hill, which was a ski hill on post, and we would cross country ski a lot. So we'd cross country ski up, and then we'd just bomb the hill down. You're like, let's get out of here. Just rucksack on, just lean forward and just go. But we would cross country ski a lot more, which the skis they give you are not the greatest, but they're, for all intents and purposes, like it's fun. Like it sucks going up but you learn how to duck walk and do all the different things, and
it's amazing.
It's fun.
It's amazing when I watch the Army commercials and they're like the Arctic light figers, and they'll show them with all their gear on, and they make it look so cool. And I when I watch these, of course, now as an older guy, I laugh, and I'm like, they make it look cool. Like that's where you want to be. But I'm like, it has to be miserable.
Yeah. Not that cool. It's you know, it is cool to an extent. But
Well, it's cool to be able to say that you've done that. I mean, in my mind, how many people have been in Arctic Light Infantry units? Not very many.
A lot of guys from Fort Drum will be like, yeah, Fort Drum, like same thing. It doesn't get quite as cold, but it still gets really cold up there. I mean, it still gets in the negatives, and they get tons of snow.
Yeah.
Because I've met a lot of guys from 10th Mountain that are like, well, dude, like, no, it's not Fort Drum. Go to Greeley in the middle of winter in Alaska and tell me it's harder. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, so we did a lot of training like that. We did a lot of ruck marches, not so much in snowshoes, but throw yak tracks on and go 12 miles. We did 12 milers every Friday. And then every year we did an annual 25 miler around Farmers Loop, and that's miserable. You hear guys that have been to Ranger School like, yeah, dudes will just be walking and sleeping. They're just droning, you know. They're walking, but they're just not consciously there. And first time that ever happened to me, I was like, we were walking that 25 miler, and I'm like, I don't remember how I got here. Like,
listen, I know exactly. I have said this to people before, and I know they kind of look at you like, okay, whatever. I have fallen asleep on a road march.
Yeah.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. It's like you're walking, you got to maintain that 5 meter, interval. And it's like all of a sudden you catch yourself and it's like you and your eyes open and it's like, you're looking around and it's like, well, I'm still walking. I'm still in line. Everything's good. But yeah, it's like
you're 2 miles down the road.
You just nodded off for a little bit and you kept, I know exactly what you're saying. That's a real thing. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, no, it's for sure a real thing. But we started at like midnight, 1 o'clock, and I'm just dog tired. Oh yeah. And you're going, and you're just like, and you fall asleep, but you're still going. You know, your body's still moving and stuff like that.
One foot in front of
you
the
bump
other.
into the guy in front of you, and then you're like, I was sleeping.
So now, how long were you up there?
I was up there for 3 years. So I got up there in 2007. We deployed to Iraq in 2008, and then
so you did deploy Iraq out.
Yeah.
So you go from Alaska, cold.
It was
to the desert in Iraq.
Yeah, so it was. So we went. It's funny because we went to. So in July we went to NTC. So like all the West Coast units and stuff, like guys that are going to the desert typically go to NTC out in California at Fort Irwin. We did that in July. Which, if you've ever been to the desert in California in July, it is absolutely miserable.
Especially coming from Alaska.
Yeah, it's miserable. Which, contrary to popular belief, like. Alaska in the summertime is fantastic. It does get to 70s, 80s, but it's not real humid. It's the most perfect weather, minus the mosquitoes because they're the size of birds and they're awful. But so we go to NTC in July, and then they let us take leave from NTC. They're like, hey, we're not going to fly back to Alaska. If you guys want to take leave from here to go home for pre-deployment leave, that's fine. Sweet. So they shipped a bunch of us in buses to Vegas to fly home, and I'm like,
that had to have been a mistake.
100%.
Why would they do that?
I got a story about.
Well, go ahead.
So we go to NTC, we go to Vegas, and it was me, my gunner at the time, who was like, this kid is like he's from Virginia. He's like 7 foot tall. So you imagine this dude that's like 6'10", 7 foot, and then me.
All right.
So like I'm his AG, he's my gunner. It's me, him, another buddy of ours, and then a buddy of mine that ended up being my roommate later on, who went on to be a Green Beret and was killed in action overseas. We go to Vegas. We got a 12-hour layover. We're like, let's get drunk.
Yeah.
So we like no place. This is like 9 a.m. No place is open, and we find a gas station. My buddy's wearing his uniform. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, he's like, I want to go get some pants. I'll go to the gas station. I'll get something to put on, whatever. So he goes to the gas station, gets some shorts. This is my buddy that ended up being my roommate, and he gets some shorts, and he's got big old tree trunk legs. You know, he's a skinny dude, but he's just a PT stud.
Hoss,
yeah. And he gets these shorts, and they're super tight, and so we're like, he's like, all right, I'm ready to go. Well, he like squats down to do something and just rips the butt out of his pants. And he's just like, I'm over this. I'm going back to the airport. Like, I'll just wait, whatever.
Right.
So me, my gunner, and another buddy of mine go, and we find a gas station that is selling beer. So we just start double fisting beers.
Right.
until.
Of course you would. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
I mean,
why
what
wouldn't
else?
you? We're getting ready to deploy. Like, why would we not?
Of course, yeah.
So we're drinking until this bar called Blondie's opens, and Blondie's is like at the time was like I haven't been there in a while, so I don't know what it is now. But it used to be like a beer games bar, so there's like beer pong and stuff like that.
Okay.
So we're going there, and they open up. We go in there, we start drinking, and we're playing beer pong, but there's just the three of us. And these two girls come in, and my buddy's like, watch this. So he goes and he talks to these girls. These girls come over and play beer pong with us. And come to find out, they were strippers waiting to go to their shift at whatever strip club they were at. Right. And so we just get obliterated. We're just drunk.
Right.
And me and my buddy ends up throwing up. They kick us out of the bar. And we all get separated somehow. Well, I'm half passed out in a parking garage, and I see my buddy coming by. I'm like, oh wait, I know that guy. So he picks me up, and he's like carrying me back to the hotel where my buddy's brother was staying. And we find him. Well, we passed out in the hallway. Well, in Vegas, if you pass out in a hallway or anything, they have to call an ambulance, make sure you're okay. So call an ambulance. Ambulance takes us to the hospital. And,
man.
And
that's turning into a major fiasco.
Yeah. So we go to the hospital, and we're getting IVs and everything. And the doctor comes in and he's like, hey, like maybe next time just don't be so crazy. I'm like, I get it, first time. I just turned 21, and he's like, all right, cool. So we're like, well, shoot, we got 6 hours before our flight. We can still make the flight. And we're like, so me and my buddy were like, well, we got to get back to the strip. So we start walking. It's hot. We're dehydrated. We just got out of the hospital. And so we're walking down the highway, trying to get to the strip. We can see the strip, but we can't really get there. And an ambulance comes pulling up, and they stop, and they're like, didn't we just take you guys to the hospital? Yeah. And they're like, well, we're not really supposed to do this, but like, hop in. We'll give you a ride to the strip. Whatever. So they get us as close to the strip as they can, and we start walking over this overpass, and we get stopped by a guy. He's like, hey, this is a construction zone. You can't get through here. All right. I was like, we're on leave. We're getting ready to deploy, whatever. Like, we just need to get back to the strip so we can get a cab to get our flight. And he's like, wait here just a second. So he goes in his golf cart and goes and talks to some guy. And this guy comes and picks us up, and he gives us a ride through this construction site. And he's explaining everything. And well, the guy had happened to be an engineer with the Green Berets during his career, and now he's in charge of this whole building project at this place in Vegas. And he's explaining everything. He's like, dude, I've been there. He's like, he's like, stay safe over there, come back home, everything's good. So he drove us through, brought us to the strip. We got a taxi, made it to the airport, got to our flight on time. I'm like, wild pre-deployment.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I blame the Army for that one. Cause if you have a bunch of young guys that are getting ready, and you have that much time, and then you're like, well, let's send them to Vegas.
Yeah.
What do they expect to have happen?
Which is why we can't do nice things anymore. As a leader now, I'm like, you're thinking about like, the guys are like, well, can we drink? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And like me, myself, I'm like, yes, I would love to drink, but I was like, I know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
If we let this happen. I was like, if you guys could be adults about it, it would be fine.
But they won't be.
But they won't be.
No.
They'll drink as much as they can, as fast as they can, and
then go crazy. Yeah. And then everything. Yeah, that is the God's honest truth. So you did a 1-year deployment then in Iraq?
Yeah, so we did a 1-year deployment in Iraq. We were in Bakuba. So it's in the Diyala province, about 100 clicks north of Baghdad.
You were north of Baghdad. Okay.
Yeah. So it was So the biggest fob that's there is Fob Warhorse, which I think ended up turning into Camp Warhorse, but at the time it was a fob.
Okay.
It's small, like still fairly small, not really built up. But we lived in a COP. So we were like 15, 20-minute drive.
What's a COP?
A COP is a combat outpost.
Okay.
So it's just a small, we lived at basically was a bombed out dorm building.
Okay.
In the middle of a city called Tahrir.
Okay.
Which, small city, but there was a lot of insurgency and stuff happening there at the time.
Sure.
So they put us in this combat outpost for 6 months. We were there, and we would operate out of that. Just our company, nothing else.
Now, when you would do your patrols, was it dismounted? Were you mounted? Were you
a bit of both? So we had strikers. So whenever we reflagged to the 25th, we got strikers. So we had strikers in Iraq, which people will talk bad about strikers all day. I'll never will. At the time, so like now they kind of suck because they like the way they changed the seating up, and they have jump seats in there now to like help protect with IED blasts and stuff like that. But at the time, we had like bench seats, so like you could lift the bench up, put all your tools in there, and like you could fit a lot of guys in there fairly comfortably. Like you could squeeze in. With the jump seats, you can't squeeze any closer. Like you're just there.
Why would the Army do that? It's like everything else, you know?
Yeah,
why?
I get why they did it. So, I mean, it's safety reasons. So, like, whenever you get hit by an IED, the seats kind of give a little bit. So, you're not like...
Right.
But hindsight's 20/20. You know,
and that they can take an IED.
We got hit by a few IEDs, nothing crazy. But I've seen strikers that have been hit by 500-pounders that are just destroyed, still roll back to the fob. Like they have their issues. They always have hydraulic issues. They always have issues. But yeah, I've seen them take a hit and they're great. So we were strikers. So we would go wherever we needed to go. Like we're like, hey, this is where our patrol is today. We go out and our whole job really was to just go out and find dudes. We just went out and we'd try to find a fight. You know, something. Right.
But
a lot of times we did a lot of cordon and knocks, where we'd go up to a village, we'd cordon off the village, and then we would dismount and we would go door to door and try to find, you know, hey, what's going on here? What do you need? Do like sweat assessments, which is like sewer, water, electric, trash, stuff like that. Like things that like, hey, what do you guys need in this area? So we could talk to our engineers, figure out what they need
to try to help them out.
Them out. Yeah. Try to let them know, like, hey, we're here to help you guys. We're not the bad guys, you know.
Right.
A lot of times, like, you know, you hear a lot of guys say like winning the hearts and minds. I really like that, but it's like because sometimes you go over there and you're like you create more terrorists than you know than you destroy just by your actions. You know,
right.
It just depends on, it's all about your demeanor.
Right.
So we would do a lot of that, and it wasn't too bad. We did get into some bad stuff. I think our platoon, out of all of the companies, probably got hit the worst.
Really?
Out of all of them. Yeah.
Was it direct fire, indirect fire, primarily
so not
IEDs?
A lot of IEDs. Not as much direct fire as I'd wanted. Probably a dozen firefights, maybe. Nothing crazy, and nothing really ever lasted. Like I know guys that have been in firefights for days, hours. I don't think any one of our firefights lasted for more than 10 minutes because you got 4 strikers. They wouldn't let us have Mark 19 grenade launchers on the vehicles, so we outfitted them all with 50 cals. So it's like anytime you get in a firefight, it's like you got 4 50 cals plus machine gunners on the back. Like there's a lot of firepower going down range at one time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
That's nothing that they could have sustained.
No, not for the amount of attackers that we ever. I think like the most attackers we ever got hit by was 5. And you know, and that ends pretty quick. It's nothing crazy. It's not 150 fighters. It's not, you know, anything crazy. But there's some crazy stuff that happens there.
Oh.
And in 2008, 2009, Iraq was still kind of ramping up. There was still a lot of stuff going on. So
how about indirect fire? Did you guys have to deal with mortars or anything like that, or rockets?
We only had the FOB got hit quite a bit. So when we first got to the FOB, before they moved us out to the COP, we would run a couple missions out at just left seat, right seat rides to learn the area with the guys we were replacing, and we only had one real issue with mortars. They hit the FOB often, but nothing really crazy. But our Charlie company had ran a mission, and they had just finished their mission and parked their strikers, and were dismounting to do their post brief, and get everything cleaned up and everything like that. And a mortar round hit right behind one of the vehicles and killed 3 guys.
Oh man.
And that's super unfortunate. There's nothing you can do about that.
That's
and it's
the chaotic ugliness and the randomness. I know I've talked to a lot of guys that's something that always, I think, bothers a lot of guys that have been, it's just such a random where you're standing.
Yeah.
It's not skill. It's just.
Yeah, and the hardest part about that one was I didn't know any of the guys, but I had talked. So a buddy of mine that's a Green Beret now. He at the time he was brand new. He had joined about the same time I did, but a little bit before. So he ended up in Sadr City, his first deployment, in 2006, and which was crazy.
Okay.
He was with Third ID at the time. But one of the guys that got killed was his bunkmate in basic training. And he was like, hey, have you talked to this guy? Like he's supposed to be in your unit or whatever. And I had to be the one to tell him like, hey, hey man, like he got killed a couple days ago in a mortar attack. And that was kind of tough. That was the first real, like, okay, we're in it.
Yeah.
Like this is real life. This is not, video games. This is not anything like that. So,
yeah. And so you were 6 months, you said, up there.
Yeah. So we were 6 months into rear at the COP, and I think the final straw, they finally blacklisted the city to where guys couldn't go in and out of the city because insurgents were getting really ballsy in that area. And I think what the last straw was, we had a mission. This was, let me think, February. I know the date by heart. Is February 19th, 2009. I called my death day. We took a mission. And we out of our COP from our south gate, you had about 200 meters down to the main road that we had blocked off with concertina wire into serpentine and everything like that. Or we'd go out and then we'd make a left or a right depending on where we were going. And I was the rear air guard in our third vehicle, and we had made a left-hand turn onto that main road. And I'm watching the vehicle behind us. I'm watching the rooftops, making sure nothing's going on. And I'm really short, so like I'm in the back air guard hatch. I'm standing on an ammo can, so I can like see over the top of everything. Right. And I've got the blast shield. The back of a Strikers have blast shields. Okay. That you can fold down. Okay. I had it folded down so I could still see it a little bit better. And I'm watching the rooftop, and as I'm watching, I got my weapon just laid down in front of me, just kind of chilling. Right. Because nothing. I mean, we'd been there for 6 months, nothing's going on.
So at this point, I mean, you've been in contact.
Complacency's kind of kicking in, but things are still happening. And I look down, I got my weapon here, and I look down to my left, and this dude is in the mid throw with something, and I thought it was a Molotov cocktail at first, and I didn't have enough time.
How far away is he from you?
He's probably 25 feet away.
So he's right on.
So he's right there. Right. He comes out of the alleyway and he throws this thing, and it lands, I kid you not, 2 feet from my face. Okay. On the top of the Striker. The Striker has bird cages that protect all of the like the gas tank and stuff like that. Right. It lands on top of that and then rolls off the side. We'll come to find out it was an RKG-3, which is a Russian anti armor grenade that has parachute. It has a parachute. They're meant to be thrown off bridges and buildings, and when they hit it, it has a shaped charge that punches a good like volleyball size hole.
I mean,
through,
if it's
through
armor,
And so it hit about 2 feet from my face. It didn't go off. Rolled off the side.
By the grace of God.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the vehicles to stop, but I can't get words out. I'm like, I'm freaking out. I thought it was a Molotov cocktail. I'm like, this idiot, he sucks. And so we finally get him to stop. 4 Vic's like, hey, 3 Vic just got hit by a grenade. Stop. So we stop, drop ramp, we dismount, and I'm pissed at this.
Oh
point.
yeah,
we go down this alleyway. We can't find this guy. But we're going into every house, and we're just ripping guys out of houses. And we got 30, 40 dudes lined up. And, we start questioning them, separating them, questioning them, whatever. And I'm just like, I'm pissed. So we just start wrecking houses, trying to find stuff, Right. And that was kind of the last thing that we did at the COP. And they're like, hey, these guys are getting way too close to the COP. It's time to move. Yeah. We're going to move you guys back to the FOB. Right. The SOFA agreement had gotten signed at that time. So
what was that?
The SOFA agreement's a status of forces agreement. So it was an agreement between us and the Iraqi government that we wouldn't be operating within the footprint of where we were at without some sort of Iraqi escort, Iraqi police or Iraqi
to try
army.
To integrate them into. Okay.
Yeah. Sure. And so, but the terrible thing about this is every time we got hit while we were deployed, it was somebody dressed as an Iraqi police officer.
Of course.
It was somebody. Right.
Yeah.
And so it was hard to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. Whenever these are the guys that are supposed to be, on our side and that we're helping. So after that, then that wraps up that deployment. Now, did you stay in country any longer after that, or did you guys come back?
Yeah, so we didn't leave. We still had a few months. We didn't come back until September of that year, and we got hit a couple more times. And I think the worst one we did was April 20th of 2009. So April 10th, 2009, they had a huge suicide bomber that blew up in Mosul.
In Mosul, okay.
And killed one of the guys I went to basic training with 4th ID.
Okay.
Killed his whole squad. It was like, they said it was 10,000 pounds of homemade explosives in a dump truck that just wiped them out. And then 10 days later, we picked up a mission from our headquarters company because they had a mission to escort some diplomats to the mayor's cell to do a meeting. And they couldn't do it, so they tasked us to do it. So we get there and we cordon off the area. First squad goes in, clears out the building, make sure it's safe, everything's good. Platoon sergeant, PL, RTO come out, say, hey, good to go. Let's bring these guys in. I'm cordon off one side of the building, and I'm pulling security down two roadways. At this point, I'm a 50 cal gunner, a vehicle commander, and I'm pulling security down 2 different roadways. And so these guys get out, 3rd squad gets out, 4th squad gets out. They start escorting these guys. They have 3 interpreters, the diplomats, and then our 2 squads, and they're escorting these dudes into this building. As they're doing that, I'm just kind of joking with the guys in the vehicle, my squad leader, and Iraqi police officer gets out of, I kid you not, a red Camaro, like a maroon colored Camaro, like a 90s Camaro,
right,
and walks over to these guys, and he walks right past our guys and goes to shake the hand of the interpreters, and I'm facing my squad leader. We're 2-3 feet apart. You know, the striker's pretty close, standing up in the air guard hatch, and I'm looking at him, and right behind him, I can see everything that's going on. And he walks past our guys, shakes the interpreter's hand, and then clacks off a suicide vest.
Oh man! So how far away from you?
So I'm about 20. I was probably about 25 to 50 meters away, enough to where
the guy that gets out of the red or the red Camaro.
Yeah,
is the guy that's
yeah. He's dressed as an Iraqi police officer, but he had taken all the plates out of his vest and filled it with C4 and ball bearings and like those little bitty tack nails that you like the upholstery tack nails.
Right.
Had filled it with that, and so that happens. It killed all 3 of our interpreters, and then but we were close enough to like where one of the ball bearings had hit my squad leader in the stomach. He didn't know it until later on in the deployment when he was switching his vest with somebody else. One of the ball bearings had fallen out from in between his magazines, where he kept his magazines.
Wow.
And but yeah, it was like slow motion. You ever watch a movie like when something happens and it's like slow motion, and then like just kind of like everybody falls down and like it's just a huge plume of smoke. You're just like, that's exactly what it was like. It was everything seemed like it was in slow motion and everything. Like,
I can't imagine when you're that close to something and the concussion, the whole scene, it just has to be surreal.
Yeah. So it was crazy. So everything kind of calms down, and like there's just chaos everywhere. Our medic took a nail through his knee and went in the back of his knee and out the front of his knee. Luckily, none of our guys died. How? I have no idea. One of our E5s ended up getting medically retired. He had a bunch of shrapnel in his neck and his shoulder and stuff like that.
Sure.
A lot of guys got peppered in their butt, down their legs, and just a lot of just superficial wounds. But a lot of guys got injured. I think we had 12 dudes get injured at one time, and then all 3 of the interpreters got killed. But so everything's calming down. But as it's happening, I hear tons of gunfire, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, one of the guys from 3rd squad was knelt down behind our striker shooting down the roadway, and I'm like, what are you shooting at?
So did that trigger an ambush then?
No, it was just a single guy.
Okay.
And so I was like, what are you shooting at? He's like, camera guy driving away. So me, my buddy Quinn, who was my roommate, start engaging the guy down the car driving away. No idea what happened to that guy afterwards.
Right.
But we ended up, after that happened, we finally got it on the radio and like, hey, we got hit. We need Kazovac now. Charlie Company happened to be in the area. The battalion TAC happened to be in the area, and we're in a small neighborhood, like from where this mayor cell is, and like so we ended up having like 34 strikers in this small area, and we're trying to get dudes out of there, get them CASEVAC'd out, get them whatever. Like, hey, we don't have time for this. Load everybody up in this vehicle as fast as you can and get them out of here. So we loaded as many guys as we could up into Fort Vic, and Fort Vic just hauled back to the fob. We get back to the fob, everybody's back, and we're kind of debriefing, and typically when something like that happens overseas, they put you on this they put the whole fob on like lockdown. I think they call it River City, where it's like there's no internet access, there's no phones, there's no nothing. We get back to the fob, and our lieutenant was like, hey, go to the USO, call your families, because nobody had cell phones at this time. Like nobody, like very rarely did guys have cell phones. We just had landlines that we would go to the USO or whatever and call home. And he's like, Go to the USO, go to wherever, call your families, let them know you're okay.
Good for him.
Because this stuff's going to be on the news.
Right.
And sure as heck, like
it's a big enough attack.
It was on the news.
And
news. Yeah. It was in the New York Times, the Washington Post, like everything. But that was the hardest phone call I had to make ever. I had to call my mom, and she was like, she's like, I knew by the tone in your voice that something happened. And just calling her and be like, hey, we got hit, guys got hurt, but I'm okay. You know?
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And then after that, we didn't run any missions for probably a month at least, because we didn't have the manpower. 12 dudes got hurt out of the 34, 36 that we had. We just didn't have enough manpower to roll out on missions. So, and then we ended up leaving in September of that year and going back to Alaska.
And when did that attack happen?
That was April 20th of 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that was okay. And then so you're back in Alaska now, September.
Yep.
What's the transition like going from, the military does a good job of getting you trained up, but I've always found that I think they do a poor job of training you down. Do you know what I mean by that?
There really isn't. So the Guard does it crazy. I hate the way the Guard does everything, because you think about it, you're like World War II, like these dudes are like, get on a boat, go overseas, fight, come home, nothing. But now it's like you have all these online courses you have to do. You have all these benefits. You got to do all these things, and it's like, I don't want to do any of this. Like, why? Let me deal with this on my own time. Like, if I need to know what my benefits are, I'll research it and figure it out. And I get it. Younger guys don't understand. Like they're gonna go. They're not gonna know what their benefits are. So I understand it. As a leader, I get it.
And everybody deals with it differently too.
And everybody does deal with it.
That's the other thing. Some guys can go and come back, and I know a lot of guys that have seen some pretty rough stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're okay. It's like they just whatever their brain deals with it different, and other people will hold on to stuff, Yeah.
So the active duty there isn't really a big transition process, at least from what I remember. Like we had to do some transition things, but like when I got back, it was like 6 months later I was getting out. And so like,
really?
Yeah. So like I was chilling.
Okay. So you've got your war deployment under your belt, infantry, you got to jump out of airplanes, you got to do cool stuff. 6 months.
Yeah. And then I'm like, you know what? They were prepping for a deployment to Afghanistan. And I'm like, dude, I'm out. Dude, that one was rough.
Sure.
And they come to find out their Afghanistan deployment was way worse. So I got out 6 months after we got back. They ended up, some of my boys stayed. A lot of them left and went other places. But the guys that stayed, man, they had it rough. It was rough. I won't get too much into it, but one of the lieutenants that replaced one of our lieutenants as we were leaving, his name's Nick Vogt. If you ever have a chance, look it up.
Okay.
He was a lieutenant that graduated from West Point. First deployment, about a month in, got hit by an IED, lost both his legs. He's the only living soldier in history. And I don't want to mess the numbers up, but from what I'm told, he received something like 500 units of blood or something like that. And is still alive to this day.
Holy
Has a kid and everything. It's the craziest story that it's crazy. But if you ever have a chance, look it up.
How do you spell his last name?
VOGT.
VOGT. Nick Vogt. Okay.
Yeah. It's an amazing story. One of the guys that I was in weapons squad with, he actually helped facilitate running. Like he got shot multiple times, got back to the FOB and was running around trying to get people to come and donate blood and stuff like that, to help save his life. It's a really good story. But yeah, they had it bad. They lost quite a few guys on that deployment, and I'm like, I felt bad because I should have been there.
Survivor's Guild, they call it.
It's like, those are my boys. Those are the guys that, like, to this day I would do anything for.
Sure.
And I got out 6 months later, and they went to Afghanistan and doing God's work. And
right.
A lot of guys got hurt. A lot of guys ended up doing crazy things. A lot of guys still have really good careers. They're still still doing great things.
Well, those are the kind of guys you want in leadership. The guys that have the old timers. Old Jeff Cooper's an old World War II author that I read quite a bit. He's a big gun guy. He of course passed away, but he called it seeing the elephant. In the old days, you were kind of a hick or a rube if you hadn't seen an elephant. They called it, and he always related that to combat. You if you've been in you've seen the elephant. So you get home, you get 6 months, you're back home in Illinois. So your first enlistment was that 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
You did a 3-year enlistment.
So when I joined the Army, I'm like, I'm going to stay in for a career. And after that first 3 years, I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. But at the time, the war was still kind of going on, and they were calling a bunch of guys back.
Okay.
So they're like, well, you can get out, but before you transition and get out of the Army, you have to go see a recruiter.
Okay.
And this recruiter tries to get you to stay in. Like,
yeah.
Good luck, buddy.
Right,
like, it ain't happening. So he's like, right now, and he was good. He's like, well, right now they're calling, like, you have 5 years of IRR time. So when you do your first contract, if it's not 8 years or 6 years, whatever, when you get out, you still have IRR time, which is inactive ready reserve.
Right.
To where in that 5 years, I had 5 years, and that 5 years they can call you back to active duty at any time if they need you.
Right.
And he's like, they're calling a lot of guys back right now, like, but what you can do is you can sign a non-deployable 2-year contract with the National Guard. I'm like, cool. Like, I'll do that. And he's like, it'll knock out the 5 years of your IRR that you need to. Cool. So I do that. And I was like, but if I go anywhere, I was like, I want to go to Bravo Company, the 130 in Effingham, Illinois.
Okay. Yeah.
This is where my cousin served in that unit, went to Iraq, did a deployment to Germany, and I always heard his stories about Germany. I'm like, this sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Right.
But I heard, I knew good things. I knew guys in the unit. My cousin was in the unit, I'm like, that's where I want to go. It's an infantry unit. That's where I want to go. So I go there, and they're getting ready to muster for AT. And they're like, hey, you don't have to go to AT. You're still, you just got here. Like, just report on this date, and then you'll come back for August drill. All right, cool. So I do that, and it was typical Guard stuff. It was 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer. I was like, cool.
Right.
I get there and I get there in August, do my PT test, and I'm like, okay, this is easy. I'm doing this, And then about the third year, I'm like, this sucks. Like, this is not what I expected. I'm not meshing with some of the guys like I thought I would. Like, I was like, and I talked to one of the E6s at the time, great dude by the name of Bill Brewer. I talked to him.
And now, what rank are you at this time?
I was an E5 at this time.
Okay, so you're a sergeant.
Yeah, so I'm an E5, and I'm in weapons squad, and I'm like, I was like, I'm either gonna go SF or I'm gonna get out. I was like, I'm still in good shape. I'm still running 12-minute 2 miles. I'm still doing 100+ push-ups on my PT test. Like, I can do this. I'm either gonna go SF or I'm getting out.
Right.
And
what the SF unit is that in Peoria?
It used to be up in Chicago. But they moved them to Camp Atterbury over in Indiana because Indiana has better funding.
Okay.
So
yeah.
And I've got a couple buddies that are in 20th group over there, and really good dudes. But I talked to my buddy Bill, and I'm like, hey, I was like, this is what I'm thinking. He's like, give it a shot. He's like, you should check out this unit over in Indiana. He's like, it's a long range surveillance unit. He's like, that's not SF, but it's cool. Like, it'll be good. So I'm like, sweet. And I was like, what's long range surveillance? I'd never even heard of it.
Now, okay. Now, they didn't have LURS then whenever what your first duty station up in Alaska?
I never ran into those guys.
Okay.
So the 25th does, but I think the 25th LURS is out of Hawaii.
Right.
Most of the bigger divisions have them. Like the 101st has them, 82nd has them, stuff like that.
10th Mountain, all those guys.
Like they've got them. Never heard of them. Never even knew what they were. Yeah.
Okay.
Never even knew. Like, because I was young, I didn't do the research. I was just like, Army, cool. Like, and that was it. And so I started researching. I'm like, dude, this sounds awesome. Like, I'm like, dude, this is crazy. So I reach out, and a buddy of mine at the time was in the unit. He's like, I'll help you out. He's like, I'll get you an interview. I'm like, an interview? Okay, whatever. Yeah. So I show up, and I have all the detachment sergeants in there. I take a PT test. You got to pass a PT test with a 270 or higher. I pass my PT test. I go in there, and all the detachment sergeants and the first sergeant are sitting at this table, just like a board almost, but like a little more informal.
Right.
And they interview me, like tell them my story, what's going on, and they're like, all right, this dude seems legit. I'm like, well, let's try him out. So I put in an interstate transfer, and that took forever, which I don't know if, like, for those of you guys that are not in the Guard, like, paperwork, unless you're hounding people all the time, paperwork moves super slow.
Yes.
So it took them like 6 months for them to get me to this unit. It took them forever. I was like, dude, what is going on? Where's my paperwork?
But you knew at that point, did you know you had been accepted?
Yeah. So I knew I was going there. Like I knew I was going there.
So you're just waiting
but I'm just waiting on this paperwork, my transfer to go through so I can start drilling with these guys.
Yeah.
Well, so I go there and I see all these dudes wearing maroon berets, and I'm like, all right, this is cool. Airborne unit. Like, because in Alaska, I didn't get to jump at all. So I went from a 5-jump chump basic training to a striker unit to, now I'm in LURS. I'm like, okay. Well, the way they did it there is you have to spend a minimum of 3 months in their RASP program. So it's a RASP platoon. You have to complete a 5-mile ruck march with 50 pounds under 3 hours. You have to do a 5-mile run under 40 minutes, and you have to do 270 or higher under PT test.
Okay. So they have high standards.
Yeah, and you will stay in RAS platoon until you complete all of those tasks. So every drill, we were taking a PT test. We were doing either a ruck march or a 5-mile run, like every drill. And I'm like, I'm not doing this for more than 3 months. I was like, I'm doing it and it was like hazing Olympics. Dudes would go out and get drunk. They'd come back late at night, and then they just wake up all the RASP dudes and just smoke them and just just crazy stuff because you're not on a team yet. And then
and so that's on your 1 weekend a month.
Yeah,
they're messing with you like that. Okay,
yeah. And so I'm like, dude, I'm not doing this for there was dudes in that RASP platoon for like 18 months. I'm like, dude, you're crazy. I'm doing this in 3 months, and I'm getting done.
Right. Yeah.
So I did it in 3 months, got done, and then they take all the graduates.
When you say I'm going to do it and get it done, what do you mean?
I'm gonna make sure that I stay in shape. I pass all my things. So like, if we have a ruck march, I'm not doing it. I'm doing it in under 3 hours.
So you had to stay there until you completed all the physical stuff, and then that's whenever you got to leave.
Yes, and then
I got you.
And then they took all the guys that passed. Like, hey, we have 5 guys that passed this month. They're going to be out of RASP, and all the debts get together, and they have like a draft, like a fantasy football draft type deal. And like, hey, we want this guy, whatever. And I got on 2-1, team 2-1, which was like the dynasty team. These guys had won best team. So every year we do like kind of like a best ranger, but we call it's best team. And it's a 3-day, very minimal sleep. You do tons of tasks. You do jumps. You do all these things. And they had won it like 2-3 years in a row. And I'm like, sweet.
Now I'm going to show my complete ignorance here. Is that just because they're out of Terre Haute, correct? This unit you're talking about?
No, they were out of Seymour, Indiana.
Okay.
Which is south of Indianapolis.
So I don't understand how that works with the National Guard. So every National Guard armory will be a company-sized element, or is it a platoon?
Yeah, it's a company.
It's a company.
Yeah.
So your LURS for all of those different companies around, or are they different?
Yeah. So we were part of a BFSB, which is a Battlefield Surveillance Brigade.
Okay.
And so it'd be like a regular infantry company that has a recon platoon.
Okay.
But we were like their special children. Like, we were the LURS guys. We were the special children for that brigade.
Out of Indiana?
Yes.
Okay, so all the infantry out of Indiana, you guys are their LURS guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so but all of the LURS is out of that unit.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I think I got you now. All right.
Yeah. So, and we had guys from everywhere. We had guys that were one of the guy that ran the RASP detachment had like short guy like me, went through BUDS, was in the Navy for a while, like worked on nuclear submarines. Like his civilian job, he taught guys stuff on submarines, and he would fly from Virginia every drill to Indiana. We had guys that would come from Michigan, guys that would come from Texas. Like we had guys from all over the place.
That is crazy.
We had, I think we had 5 or 6 guys that came from Ranger Battalion, that got out of Ranger Battalion, got out of active duty, went to the Guard, and came to us. So we had good dude. Like, and you're talking like a lot of these young kids. And I was older at this time. A lot of these young kids, E4s, no deployments, but some of these dudes were some of the most knowledgeable guys that I've ever served with, and they were badged out. They had every cool guy school you could imagine.
Right.
Like I went in and I was the only dude on my team with a CIB, but like there were E4s that had Mountain Warfare, Pathfinder, Airborne, Air Assault. I was like, dude,
had it all.
Like what?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm like, this is great. Like I'm gonna get schools, whatever.
Sure.
Ended up not getting any schools. I tested to go to Ranger School, and I had to test. They had 1 slot at the time, and I tested with 4 other guys to win the slot, and I got whooped. These dudes were just absolute studs.
Right.
And
now, do you have any special training to be LURS? Is there like any kind of recon?
They send you to those schools. I didn't get the opportunity to go because I kind of took a break to do some contracting and stuff, which we can get into later.
Yeah.
Yeah, they send you to RSLIC, which is the reconnaissance leadership course. They send you they send you to Ranger School. They send you, which Ranger School is it's great. Like but it's a leadership course. It's not like a end all be all. Like the guys will tell you, like, real Rangers are guys with scrolls, guys that are tier 1,
right,
running and gunning and doing stuff. Ranger School is a leadership school that teaches you how to do
and patrol,
patrolling. It's just patrolling in 3 different phases of craziness for long times, and
right.
But they send you to Ranger School, they send you to Airborne School, or they send you to Air Assault, Pathfinder, all these things that you can do in those units.
Can you get to that unit on an initial enlistment? So let's say you're a kid that like, hey, I want to join the National Guard. Can you go to that unit in Terre Haute and sign and be like, I want to join this unit?
Yes and no, I think. I don't know the dynamics of it. Not anymore, because there's no LURS units anymore. I think there's only like maybe a handful left, and they're all active duty.
So that unit's no longer LURS.
They got rid of all the LURS units because I think the government just doesn't know how to utilize them, and so they got rid of a lot of them.
I'll be darned.
And so that was the reason I ended up going back to Illinois, because they're like, hey, they're going to get rid of these units. You guys got to go from a 120 man unit to a 90 man unit, And I was like, dude, I'm the most out of shape dude on my team. I was like, I'm going to be on the chopping block, like. And come to find out, like, no, you're good, man. Like, you don't have to worry about it. But I was like, if I'm going to do this career for a long time, like, I need to go back. Because whenever I went there, I was an E5. And because I didn't have a Ranger tab, I had to take a reduction in rank to E4. So I was an E4 again for another 3 years. And I'm like, I need to get my career back on track. So I ended up going back to Illinois, getting promoted, becoming a mortarman, and going that route. But yeah, I think guys can go to that unit. They still have to do the RASP stuff and all that stuff. If they don't pass, they'll kick them out to another unit somewhere else.
All right. So you leave that unit, you come back to an Illinois unit, and is that when you went from 11 Bravo to 11 Charlie?
Yeah. So I came back to Bravo Company 2130, which is my home base.
Okay. Yeah. Right here.
I still knew all the guys. All my buddies are there. We're all. I get my.
So how long were you with the LURS unit?
I was with them for 3 years.
Okay.
3 years. So 2013 to 2016.
And you jumped and everything with them?
Yeah. So drills with them was crazy. So it was like every drill was a 3-day drill. You'd show up on Friday, you'd jump, and then you would do your thing. And it was cool because, like, in a regular unit, you do everything as a platoon. Like, a platoon's doing this, whatever. Your squad's doing this. We did everything as a team. We had a 5-man team. If we had AT or we had drill or whatever, they're like, hey, what are you guys doing for this drill? And my team would be like, hey, we're going to go do practice Zodiac boat insertions. And they'd be like, all right,
no
cool.
kidding.
Yeah. See,
yeah. People don't realize, I mean, when you think National Guard, it used to be, everybody always made fun of the National Guard, nasty girls and that whole thing. But when I'm hearing stuff like that is, that is cool stuff.
It's different. There are units out there that do that. Yeah, you're gonna get like I've also ran into National Guard units that are I'm like, dude, these guys are ate up. Like, what
but
is
you
going
can find
on?
that in the regular Army too.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no. So we did cool stuff, and they let us do it. You know,
that is so cool.
We did before our ATs. They're like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. You guys are gonna mission plan. You're gonna plan a mission. You're gonna run that mission during AT, whatever. And so they would set up these big tents, and we would stay in these tents for a 3-day drill, and not leave these tents. And they would give us MREs or whatever, and we would take butcher block paper and we would write everything down. We would paste it to the walls, and we would come up with this plan. And everybody on the team had a separate thing. So like I was the commo guy for a while, so I had to come up with all the commo stuff, the commo windows, the frequencies, everything that we were gonna do commo wise. You know, if we had issues, what were we going to do? What, you know, that was my piece of the pie. And then I would brief that on a mission set. And we did that. So it helped you work on mission planning and stuff like that. So you get a different thing. And doing that as an E4, like that's like an E7 or an officer job that does that typically. But you're doing that as an E4, E5s, you know. And it was
where would
really
you guys
good.
do most of your ATs at?
We did a lot of them at Atterbury. We did one out of Michigan. Where we helped facilitate the Michigan Guard with stuff. Where we'd rig up.
That's up at Grayling.
Yeah, we'd rig up at Atterbury, or not Atterbury, at Seymour.
Okay.
On our airfield, we flew to Michigan, jumped in, did a 48-hour mission there, rigged up, jumped back into Seymour. like just you know,
that is so cool though.
Just stuff like that. Like, you know, it's different. It's not a typical National Guard unit, but it's very different. And
it's a shame they went away from that.
Yeah. So the one thing that I was like, you know, I don't feel like I've done enough in my career. And I had got to talk to my buddy as a Green Beret at the time. Like he got onto the teams, and I was talking to him like, you know, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And he's like, look at it this way, dude. It may not sound great in theory. He's like, but if you really look at it, he's like, there are less guys that are in LURS units in the country than there are Green Berets. And I'm like, okay. I was like, and when you get to think about that, you're, all right, cool. Like I get it now, and like it makes more sense. It gives you a little bit more
right
to think about, a little bit more like, okay, I'm doing something bigger than me, and that's what I wanted at the time.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, to me, when I anytime I hear LURS, I think, oh, okay, those guys, you got to be legit. I mean, you can't,
And so the unit I was with, over in Indiana, they came from Delta Company 151 out of Vietnam, which is one of the most highly decorated National Guard units in Vietnam.
Okay.
They're like they took these guys from Indiana, and their nickname was the Indiana Rangers. So they took this company took this Delta company and sent these dudes to Ranger School, Recondo, Pathfinder, Jungle Warfare, all these schools, and then they shipped them over to Vietnam, where they did over 395 missions.
Wow.
The medals that they got for that are insane. Like they just, the amount of stuff. I think they had 119 or 120 some Purple Hearts. I think 19 Bronze Stars, 8 with Valor. Like just crazy stuff.
Legit,
8 Silver Stars. Like just crazy stuff. And so when you start looking at that lineage, there's a lineage there that you're just like, wow, okay. And when you start looking back at it, you're like, wow, this is crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah. To be a part of something like that. So you transition back to Illinois, that unit gets shuttled, you come back, and then that's whenever you become 11 Charlie.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So I came back because I wanted to get promoted. I wanted to get my promotion back. I wanted to get my career back on track. I was like, my goal whenever I joined, even when I joined active duty, my goal, I was like, I want to be a first sergeant before I retire.
Okay.
And that's a pretty lofty goal. I mean, that's the second highest rank you can get.
Yeah, as an enlisted
guy. And I'm like, that's, it's a lofty goal. And I took a reduction in rank, and it set me back a little bit, but I learned a lot. And, I did some cool stuff. I met a lot of really good guys. So I came back, and they didn't have any E5 positions available. Like, the only spot we have available is 11 Charlie E5 slot. I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
Right.
They need an E5. I'll do it. So I did that. And then like I went to the reclass school down in Arkansas. It was like 3 weeks long, learned how to do mortar stuff.
Because that's all new to you.
Yeah. Shot mortars. Like, it was fun. Like, it wasn't anything crazy. Came back and then didn't do anything. Like,
now what size mortars?
So at Bravo Company, they have 60 mortars. They have 60 millimeter mortars. So like the small handheld ones, like which is not bad. But I came back and I didn't really do anything for like 3 years of my career. I was like, I'm not doing anything. This is stupid. Like, I'm not learning anything. My platoon sergeant wasn't teaching me much. And I was like, all right, well, it is what it is, you know? And then I was like, I want to go back to the line. And then another deployment came up and they're like, hey, we're going to deploy, in 2019.
Now you were just telling me about your real dad's family.
Yeah.
And their military, your grandfather, explain that he was a captain in the Air Force.
So growing up, I didn't really know my real dad all that much.
Right.
My mom and dad got divorced whenever I was young. And I only spent a couple summers, you know, the typical dad gets the summertime for 3 weeks, whatever. I did that for a couple summers. And then my dad just, kind of just in and out of prison, just was not the greatest of dads out there. My stepdad was the greatest dude I'd have ever met.
Sure.
But his dad, my grandpa, was in the Air Force, and he was a captain. He retired as a captain, but he was stationed in Canada for a while, in Newfoundland, where my dad was born.
Okay.
And then he was in Greece, and while he was in Greece, he fell in love with coins and stuff like that. And so now he in his retirement, he deals a lot, and he goes around with the Numismatic Society, which is a society that deals with like ancient coins from all over the world.
And you said he's one of the foremost experts on coins.
Yeah. So he travels, not so much anymore, but as I was a little bit younger, he would travel to London and England and all over the world to give speeches and stuff like that about these coins. And he's written books about them because while he was in the military, he kind of, you know, it piqued his interest and he kind of got into it.
That is so cool.
And so now, so when I go to his house, if I ever go and visit, I'm like, I have him show me some of the coins that he's collected over the years. And it's super neat. Like, it's one of those things that you're just like, well, this is different, you know, but coming from a family that's in the military, and you know, in the military, you travel all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, I've got currency from all the places I've been, you know, and for him to be in Greece and get into ancient coins, like
thousands
of years old, you know, and it's super cool for him to write books on it and stuff like that. It's different, and it's
cool.
It's a lot of fun to read, and something I can pass down to my kids, and
sure,
you know, hopefully my grandkids someday.
Yeah, that is so neat. And then you were talking about your brother too, that he was going to do JTAC and then with the Air Force. And then now he's EOD.
Yeah.
And you said is he an instructor? Is
that
right?
So my brother wanted to join the Air Force. He didn't want to join the military at all. He knew, you know, he's like, I want to join he's like, I'm never going to join the military. He's like, that's stupid. I don't know why anybody would do that. And then typical, you know, got into some family issues, you know, was getting ready to have a kid, just graduated college, you know, was hurting for money, didn't know what he wanted to do. And, so he hit up the military. He's like, well, the only thing I know is the infantry. He's like, no. I was like, you only know that because that's what I do. That's what my friends do. I was like, I'm not. I was like, if you join the infantry and you go to war and die, mom's going to blame me. And I'm not, I'm not having that on my conscience.
Right.
So he's like, well, okay. Well, I was like, dude, if you want to join the Air Force. Like, they're the best. They're going to help you out the best, especially when you get out, you know, you're going to be way more marketable to agencies or wherever you want to go. And so he went and got it in great shape. And my brother, my brother's an inch shorter than me, but he is a savage.
Right.
This kid is just 7% body fat, just super jacked. Like, has always been that way. I got the short end of the stick on this one. I just get short.
You say that, but you're
short. I get short and fat. Like,
you're
that's just
not fat
me.
at all. I mean, you're put together. You're obviously a strong guy, and yeah. But anyway,
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
but yeah. So he did all the things. He's like, I want to be a TAC P. I'm like, that's a dangerous job, but that's super cool.
Right.
You know, Air Force. That's awesome.
Those guys are legit.
So he took his PASS test, which is like the Air Force's like physical fitness test for special operations. Yeah. And he passed everything. He did great. He ran his 1.5 miles in like 8 minutes flat. Like, did like 20 pull-ups. Like, just crushed it. And then he was just waiting, and nothing was coming up. And he's like, dude, I need to go. He's like, they're like, well, the only thing we got right now is EOD. He's like, I'll do it. And so he went to basic training, graduated, and then went to Eglin Air Force Base, went to EOD school. He's like, dude, that was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I've known guys that have gone to EOD school and failed. Like,
oh yeah,
it's not an easy course by any means.
Yeah,
because munitions are always changing and everything. But he ended up passing out of the 26 guys in his class. I think 4 of them passed, and he was one of them. And so
Man, that's a heck of an attrition rate.
yeah, so he went all over the place. He started out in Idaho and then went to Turkey on a deployment, went to Kuwait on a deployment, went to got stationed in England, which he hated because the England weather sucks.
Yeah, it's like this, like it is today.
But while he was in England, he got to go to Germany and Iceland and all these different places. And now he's in Texas at the prelim course for the Air Force. He's an instructor down there. So
how cool is that?
Yeah, he loves it. He's like, dude, I don't want to get promoted because he's like, I won't be able to do my job.
That is cool. That's awesome to hear. You know, and that's the thing. A lot of people think any branch, and I don't care what branch of the military you go to, there is all kinds of stuff to do.
Yeah.
You know, it is. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's get back. Let's try to go back to where we were. We were getting you back to, you realized you wanted to be more career minded.
Yeah.
And so now there's a spot that comes up for you. And you're dealing with the mortars.
There's 3 mortar systems. There's a 60 millimeter, an 81 and a 120.
And the 120s are the big guys.
The 120s
I forgot about the
120s are the bad boys.
Yeah.
They'll put a hurt on people.
Yeah. 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 I forgot about the 120s. When I think mortars, I think usually I think 81 millimeter.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 60s are the smaller ones. So, okay. So now you get to that unit. Now you're doing your stuff with that. And what's the difference as far as being from a light infantry to a mortar infantry?
So the 60s is nice. And what a lot of people don't realize is that 60s are small and the newer systems are super light. So you can carry those anywhere. The Army and especially in the National Guard, I think they don't really understand how to utilize them. And so I spent a lot of my time as a mortar sergeant just trying to explain to my commander, my first sergeant, like, hey, look, if you guys are going out on patrols or you're doing this, take us with you. We can handheld fire these things. You know, if you get in contact at 500 meters, I was like, yeah, it sucks humping all these rounds and we're going to have to distribute the rounds between the guys. But like, if you get into some stuff, your 240 is your most casualty producing weapon always. But if you get into some stuff and you need some help, we can do it. I was like, we can handheld drop these things as close as 400 or 500 meters and you'll be good. And so I tried it.
Now, I want to interrupt you just for a second. You said something interesting to me. The 240 is the most casualty inducing weapon in like an infantry platoon.
In an infantry platoon, yes.
Okay. That's interesting. And so for anybody listening, that is the, it's a 308 762 by 51. And it is a
belt-fed machine gun.
It's a belt-fed machine gun.
27.6 pounds of just pure awesome.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of my time trying to convince them to go outside of their comfort zone of, well, we're going to set up a support by fire with our weapon squad. And then this squad's going to do this. You know, I was like, okay, well, you can, that's great. It works. And that's what you do. I was like, but you can have us in the back. You can have us hitting targets in the back. So like if guys are squirting and trying to run away, doing whatever, like we can make that battlefield smaller by doing terrain denial,
right?
Essentially saying, okay, hey, well, if they want to retreat to here, we can start hitting it, and they can't go nowhere.
Right.
And now they're stuck, and you guys have that ability.
Right.
So I spent a lot of time explaining our capabilities and trying to get that out there so that we could be utilized more. Because when I first got into the mortar section, they never utilized it. We'd go to drill and we'd go to AT and we just sit there, twiddle our thumbs and do nothing. And it's like, I want to be involved. I want to do stuff. Like, let's do stuff. And so
they wouldn't have you like firing your weapons a lot.
Not
really.
Like you go to AT and you go out to the mortar range and you shoot your mortars. You do your mortar firing tables and stuff like that. But like that's all you do. And it's like, okay, we're proficient, but we're not
You're not moving with the maneuver element.
In the real world, when you're actually out there doing maneuver, you need to. There's so much more that goes into it with mortar emplacements and different tactics and stuff like that. When you have a mortar system attached to you,
sure.
It's letting those commanders say, "Hey, I have got another tool that I can use. Let's figure out how we can use this and where you guys can go."
Right.
And so I did that for a while, and then a promotion came up for the E7, and I want to go back to the line. I wanted to be a platoon sergeant. I want to be a regular grunt, just being a platoon sergeant, just doing guy stuff.
Right.
You know? I wasn't sure where I was going to be on the list or when I was going to get promoted. Some guys were getting promoted and I was waiting and I'm like, I want to be in Bravo Company, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. And then the 106 Cav up in Dixon, Illinois sent me an offer as their mortar platoon sergeant. So I ended up going up there to take that promotion as an E7. And that's where I'm at now.
So you're an E7 now, Sergeant First Class.
Yes.
Okay. I'll be darned. And with a Cav unit now, is that 19 Deltas?
Those are all 19 Deltas. We do have some 11 Bravo guys. so the Cavs set up kind of weird. They're set up in squadrons instead of companies.
Right.
And, they have like a kind of
regiments and
they've got their recon platoons and their companies and stuff like that. They have a company up there in the 106 Cav that's just infantry dudes, but the rest of them are like 19 Delta Cav guys.
How do you get along with the 19 Deltas? Because I know, I mean, I say that tongue in cheek because everybody gets along, but there's the infantry 19 Delta thing that. And a 19 Delta is a Cav scout, and of course the infantry hates everybody.
Yeah,
but there's always been this kind of a rivalry, I guess, between.
I get along with the guys really well. There's a couple guys that work corrections like myself now.
Yeah, Dixon. There's a prison up there.
Yeah, so I get along with a lot of those guys. We have, we got
a psych unit.
We got some good stories and stuff. Sure. I get along with the guys really well, but they're 19 Deltas. They're not 11 Bravos. Like, right. And I will forever make fun of the Stetson. Like, I will have to get one eventually, but like.
I think they're cool.
I'll forever make fun of them. Yeah. Like when I was on active duty, I don't know how many fights we got into just messing with the Cav guys because it's just what we do.
Yeah.
But I get along with them. Sure. I'm older now, so like
that's a lot of it.
I get the dynamic and everything like that, and it's like. And when I was younger, it was like guys were like, "Oh, 19 Deltas, they're basically infantry." They just, I was like, "No, stop, they're not." Like, let's be honest about this. Like, it's a completely separate job. It's a completely separate mindset. Like, it's just
my buddy Zach Sarver. I did a show with him earlier, and I think you know who he.
Yeah, Zach was a first sergeant when I first got in, and he's kind of a legend in the 130 with some of his stories and the things that he's done and its deployments and stuff. And he's a super good guy.
Yeah, he lives about a mile across the road from us here. He ain't too far from
really?
He's a neighbor, yeah. But well, I always tease Zach. I always tell him, you know you're somebody when they write country music songs about you. You know. But he started off as a 19 Delta.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Whenever he was in the regular army, that's what he was. He
did not know that.
Yeah, he started off as a Cav scout. And I've asked him too, the difference between but it's like anything. Everybody's got their own personal opinion on it. I'm not saying who's right, who's wrong. They all have their own role to play. They all bring their unique skill sets to the fight. And
it's different.
God bless them all, man.
Yeah, it's different. Everybody has. I mean, there's the Army's the biggest Swiss Army knife. There's a job for everything.
That is a very good way to put it.
There literally is. I mean, you have tier 1 guys. You have your basic grunts. You have your intel guys. You have PSYOP. You have there's everything. There's a job for everybody, regardless of what it is. And
there's some intel stuff that's really cool too.
Yeah. And depending on what the mission set is, I mean, you're going to work with infantry guys are going to work with everybody.
Right.
But depending on what the mission set is, they may not need infantry dudes. They may need Cav scouts, or they may need, 13 Foxes or whatever.
Right.
So it's a really good thing
that was one thing I liked about being a 13 Fox was we could be in an infantry unit, we could be in an artillery unit, we could go with anybody. They even have I don't know if they still do. They used to have aerial observers where you could be an OH-58s and you're a FO from an OH-58 bird,
Yeah.
And I always thought that was kind of cool. All right, let's bring it back here. So okay, in the meantime of you doing all of your National Guard duties, that's a part-time job.
Yeah.
What were you doing after you got back from the 25th and what was your civilian life like?
I got out of the 25th in 2010 and I enrolled back in school. I went to SIU Carbondale.
Okay.
And I studied criminal justice with a minor in forensic science. Because I wanted something that was going to be a little bit different than everybody else. Criminal justice is the easiest thing you could study.
Yes.
It's not hard. Like anybody can do it.
Yep.
But I wanted a minor that was going to be something different.
Set you away from the crowd.
Yeah, set me away from it. Doing different stuff. So forensic science, I took a couple courses. I'm like, I really like this, and I took a bunch of psychology classes. And that really got me. And like forensic psychology is the coolest thing I think ever.
Sure.
But so I minored in that, and then while I was in school, the GI Bill paid for my schooling. They paid for my rent, everything. I didn't have to work, so it was kind of nice. So I played. I get crap about it all the time, but I played ultimate frisbee in college.
Okay.
I tried out for the football team as a walk-on. Didn't get picked up, and so I was like, but I just wanted to play sports. I wanted to stay active, so I got in with the ultimate frisbee crowd, which was a fantastic time. Great weird dudes. But the most fun, going out on the weekends to different states to play in tournaments, playing big schools like Ohio State, Notre Dame, Illinois, big schools, drinking.
Yeah.
You play on Saturday, you drink, you get drunk on Saturday night, and you wake up Sunday, you play 4 more games, and it was a good time. So I did that through college. And then after I graduated college, I started applying to police departments and just was not having any luck. And all the guys I talked to, like, man, sometimes it takes 17, 18 departments before you get picked up by one. And I just wasn't having any luck. So I worked odd jobs. I worked at Menards part time as a plumbing associate. I washed semi trucks at Blue Beacon, which is the worst job I've ever had. Like, but kudos to those dudes, because like it's a hard job.
We got a lot of kids around here that do that.
It pays weekly, so it's nice, but it's a hard job. Your hands hurt. You're constantly wet. While I was doing that, I was still applying for police departments, applying for other jobs. I ended up getting a job up in Rantoul at Lincoln's Challenge, which is, I call it an at-risk youth academy. So it's a lot of kids that get kicked out of school for disciplinary reasons or whatever. And they're trying to get their GEDs. And so basically all you are is a drill sergeant. I was gonna say, it's like a little boot camp. Yeah. So they call it a quasi-military academy. It's not a full military academy, but it is that structure. So we would get these kids in formation. We would march them to class, march them back from class, do cadences, stuff like that, which was kind of fun.
Did you enjoy doing that?
I enjoyed it, but at the time it was kind of rough because they weren't vetting the kids the way they should have been. So we got a lot of really bad kids that never should have been there. So we were constantly dealing with fights and you can't these kids are 16, 17 years old. You can't put your hands on them.
Right.
I mean, you can protect other kids if they're fighting other kids. You can get in between for sure. But there's only so much you can do. And they have attitude problems just like every teenager does. And I worked there for a while. And then I was still applying to police departments and just getting blackballed by everybody. I'm like, dude, what is going on? I was like, I have a good career. I have a good background.
Well,
like, everything's good.
And you had a bachelor's degree.
I had a bachelor's degree, and I just was not doing well. But at the time, police department people still want to be police officers then. So when I tested for Champaign, there were 600 people that tested.
Right.
Now you're going to get 5 or 6.
Right.
It was different back then.
Sure.
But so I kept applying, and then I got myself into some trouble. I got a DUI, and that kind of set me back.
Sure.
But I take that back. Let me go back a little bit. When I was in Indiana, I was private contracting. I got into some private contracting. I worked with Triple Canopy. I went overseas to Afghanistan.
Okay, how'd you get hooked up with them?
I'd always heard of the contractors making just stupid money.
Right.
During the war, and I'm like, dude, I want a piece of this. Like, I want something different,
Sure.
And so while I was with the LURS unit, I ended up, I just called them. I put it out an application. They called me. They're like, hey, if you're interested, like, we'll interview you real quick, and see, whatever. And so it was like a 5-minute phone call. Honestly, it was like way easier than I thought it would be. And I ended up getting hired on, and I didn't do anything super cool. I just did like Sec 4 stuff. I ran ECPs and stuff, which is what.
Explain what that is.
Sec 4 is basically you're the security force for a fob or a base or whatever. And at the time they were hiring a bunch of contractors to do that, so they didn't have to have soldiers doing it. But I went to Leatherneck in Afghanistan in the Helmand province, which is a pretty wild place. And they were closing it down. So we were there doing the security while they were closing it down.
What year would that have been?
That was 2014. They ended up cutting our contract short, and I met with some guys from Academy, which used to be Blackwater.
Okay.
I met with one of their project managers out of Kandahar, and he was going to pick up a bunch of us from our class and go down to Kandahar. Oh, they came back and said, no, you can't do that. You have to come back to the States, train again, and then you can go back over. I'm like, we just trained. And I didn't want to go through that whole process again. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to the Guard, whatever. So I did that. And then after that, then I picked up with Lincoln's Challenge.
Okay. So how long were you with Triple Canopy then?
I was only with Triple Canopy for a year.
A year.
Yeah.
So now do they sign, is it like a 1-year contract?
Yeah,
like
you sign
military?
a 1-year contract.
Okay.
It's just a contractual basis based on what their needs are. So like there's contracts, everywhere. You can go. I actually put into it because I took 4 years of French in high school. I put in to be a mechanized instructor in the Congo to go out there and teach the Congan army how to do mechanized operations and stuff. And they ended up closing that contract down. And they didn't get enough guys or French speakers to go out there and do.
Now, so whenever you do a contract like that, you can pick where you want to go. Like, can you pick, hey, I want to be in this country?
Yeah, there's contracts everywhere. You can find out like what contracts are available, and it'll tell you where they're at and stuff like that. So
that's cool.
Getting in is the hard part, but once you're in, it's kind of just like it's a crapshoot of wherever you want to go.
And the money was good, I'm guessing.
And the money was really good.
Yeah.
So we worked. They cut our contract short. I was there for like 4 or 5 months, And I made good money. It was like $206 a day plus per diem plus whatever. Like, it was good. But then I came in and went to Lincoln's Challenge, and I really liked that job. But it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And then I got a phone call from a buddy of mine, and he's like, "Hey, you just got done contracting, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just got back, like, nothing crazy." And he's like, "We have a job up here that we need a guy for." He's like, "I think you'd be a really good fit for it." So I get a call from a guy, and he's an ex-Israeli Special Forces guy. He's like, "Hey, I've got a job that I need a guy for. Can I meet with you?" Sure. Well, I was like, "What? Where? When? And where?" He's like, I live in Chicago. Like, can you be up in Chicago? I'm like, "Sure. I'll drive up there. We'll talk, whatever." So I go up there, interview. Don't hear anything for a while. And then I get a phone call. He's like, "Hey, I need you to be."
You really didn't know for sure.
I didn't really know what was going on. Right, I didn't know what the job was. He's like, "Hey, you're gonna show up to this place. You're gonna rent this SUV, and you're gonna go meet the State Department guys at the airport." Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, I have no idea what's going on. So I go up there, I do the whole thing, and I show up to the airport, and it ends up being the former president of Israel, Shimon Peres, was flying in.
Holy cow!
And I get there, and I'm like, I don't know anybody. He's like, "You're gonna meet this guy. His name's Steve or whatever, for all intents and purposes."
Right.
He's like, "You're gonna meet this guy, and so I meet with him, and he's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Hi, my name's Chris." I'm like, I'm the driver. He's like, "Okay, cool." He's like, "Do you know what you're doing?" I was like, "Nope." I was like, "I was told to be here at this time at this place with this vehicle."
Right.
He's like, "They didn't tell you who you're picking up?" They didn't tell me anything. He's like, "Dude, you're picking up the former president of Israel."
Holy cow!
I was like, "Dude, what?" We can make this work.
Yeah.
So he gets there, and I spent 4 days doing that, and that paid really, really well. And I'm like, dude, I was like, "Dude, I love this job. This is great." So I'm like, I'm basically contracting again.
And I'm guessing they had crazy security for
so he
him. I mean, my gosh.
First motorcade I was ever in. I was like, it was the craziest thing. You're in Chicago, not stopping for stoplights, nothing. Like, it's crazy. But he shows up with his whole security team, and like, I'm basically at this point, like, still contracting, but in the States, for a different guy. And I'm just a glorified chauffeur, man. I did this for a couple years.
Were you armed?
I could be.
Okay.
They're like,
it was up to you.
Technically, they're like, you can't carry a gun, but like, if you want to, like, we're not gonna say anything.
And he had his own,
but he had his own security guys, and those dudes were armed to the teeth. They had
I can only imagine.
And so I did that for a couple years, and it was just on and off, but it wasn't a steady job. It was like, I would get phone calls like randomly, like, "Hey, can you be up here at this time on this date?" I'm like, "Sure."
Okay. And
so then I'm like, I get a couple more contracts doing that. And I'm like, sweet, man. And then my buddy decides he's going to step down. He was working for the consulate, and he was going to step down, and I was going to fill into his spot. I was up there. I was working with the consulate. I was driving the consulate general around every day. Like, I would go up there. I was living with him. I was working part-time at my buddy's gym, which they work with kids. It's a place called Hot Ground Gym in Northbrook, Illinois. They work with kids, teaching them how to, like, teamwork, problem solving, stuff like that. It's like basically a little boot camp for kids.
Okay.
Like, kind of like a daycare, but like for like anywhere from like 1st to like 8th grade.
Right.
And that was a great job. You're working with kids every day, and you're teaching them how to problem solve, doing Army stuff. Like, it is a really cool time. And then in between that, I was working for the consulate, driving the consulate general, picking him up at his house in the morning, taking him to work, going back, picking his wife up, taking him to work, taking him to whatever meetings they needed to. And it was a fun time. And then I got myself into some trouble, got a DUI, and that stuff kind of, I ended up ultimately getting that dropped and everything. But that job went away.
Okay.
Because as a driver, you got to have,
sure,
the license stuff, which I never lost my license or anything, but the dynamics of it, the Israeli government got involved, and they're like, "Hey, no, you can't hire this guy," or whatever. I'm like, "That's fine, whatever. I understand. I messed up." And
is what it is, yeah.
So then I ended up moving back to town, still applying for police departments, but my DUI messed me up, so it kind of set me back a few years. And I ended up applying for the Federal Bureau of Prisons, which I had gotten off of probation and all that stuff, and I applied, and I ended up getting picked up. So I was living with my girlfriend, who's my wife now. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, just had a newborn baby.
Perfect time to
and so like I was still doing, like, I only had every other weekend with my kid, and I was living up by like Champaign, but I got a job down in Marion. And so I was driving to Marion every day. back and forth to work 2.5 hours, one way.
Man, that makes
just to work an 8-hour
day.
shift. And
Yeah.
I get mandated for overtime, and I have to sleep in a hotel because it wasn't worth driving back to sleep an
Sure.
hour and then drive right back. So I worked at USP Marion for 3 years. Did a deployment in 2019, and then came back and I put in a transfer, and now I work at FCI Greenville.
Tell me about, okay, because I know, like, coming from corrections, Illinois State Corrections,
Yep.
the federal prison, where is their academy at?
Their academy is in Glencoe, Georgia. So it is right. It's honestly, I got the best end of the deal with this one. The Federal Bureau is kind of weird. They're super short staffed. So like you can get hired on and you're going to work your job for like close to 6 months before you even get to go to the academy.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it's kind of wild.
That is weird.
Especially if you're going to go work at a penitentiary. Like that's a different.
Well, and Marion used to be max. I don't know if it still is.
It's not anymore. No,
Okay.
it's a medium now.
All right.
But it's still,
at one time, I remember when they had Gotti.
Oh yeah, they had Victor Boot.
Yeah.
The guy they traded for Brittany Griner.
Okay.
I worked his unit while I was down there.
Okay.
Super interesting cat. Like, but
well, I've talked to people that have worked in both, and it seems to me the federal is a lot more interesting than the state, because I was talking to a guy that he was like, the thing is you might have this cell might be a Montana militia guy from Montana somewhere that they arrested on some federal charges.
Yeah.
And then the guy next to him might be whatever. It's it's
for those people that don't work in corrections. Correctional officers get a bad rap, right?
I agree.
Because they're like, oh well, you're not a cop. So like cops, they're like, oh well, you're not really law enforcement. You're just a correctional. Well, I get that,
right?
And I don't remember where I heard it, but one person made it pretty good. It's like being a cop. Don't get me wrong. Being a cop, being law enforcement is the hardest job you could ever have, because every day is different. You never know what you're going to walk into, and those men and women out there deserve all the credit in the world. But as a cop, some days you have good days, some days you have bad days. Just like corrections, some days you have good days, some days you have bad days.
Right.
But as a cop, you don't know what you're getting into, and not everybody's a criminal.
Yeah, you're dealing with good people too.
But when you go to a prison and you're in corrections, depending on where you're at, you are with the worst kind of people all day, every day, 8 hours a day, locked behind doors that, so everybody there's already convicted. They're already there.
Right. And the other thing is too, is how I've noticed over, I did 27 years, is it seeps into the mindset of the staff too. And so there's times when the staff are just as negative a lot of times. I don't know if it's like this on the federal level, but
yeah, it gets bad because like we're so short staffed that like guys are getting mandated for overtime all the time. Like morning watch guys are getting hit 4 days a week. So 4 16-hour days a week, like of unwanted over. You don't want to be there, but you're stuck there. So you have to do it. So there's a lot of negativity that goes on there.
Yeah. And
I tell people this because I'm a CTO. I'm a correctional training officer as well. I went to a course for that.
Okay.
Anytime I have to teach new guys, I'm just like, look, this job is what you make it. If you can go in, and it takes some time. When I was down at Marion, I worked morning watch. I didn't interact with inmates very often, except for in the mornings when they were going back and forth to chow and stuff like that.
Right.
It took me till I went to Greenville and I was working days to like really figure out the inmates, figure out who's doing what, and over time you'll develop kind of a rapport with these guys, depending on how you are. If you come in and you're just a dick every day, you're going to have problems.
Absolutely.
But sometimes, but there are guys that you can get, like, it's weird to say, but there are inmates that you get along with.
Well, absolutely. No, and there are inmates that you like. You're not supposed to, but they are. They're funny. They're charismatic.
Yeah.
And maybe their crime isn't that bad. They're going to do their time. They're going to go home, and they're never going to come back.
Yeah.
Versus the guys that are going to be in and out of prison their entire lives.
And you see it. You work there long enough, you see it. I've seen guys leave, and then a month later, I see him again. I'm like, dude, what are you doing back here?
I remember we had one inmate that came back 4 times, that I saw this dude 4 different times, and every time his first name changed.
Yeah.
I always thought that was funny. It was like Ronnie, Johnny, Lonnie, and Donnie. Every time his last name stayed the same. He kept the same number, but his first name changed every time. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's It's a weird
Yeah, so
job.
you have guys that you get along with that you're not friends with them by no means. You're not friends with them, but there are guys like you get along with. There's guys that don't cause you problems or whatever.
Exactly.
I had a few. There was a time when I was working one house down at Greenville, and I think there was like 5 dudes in there that came from Marion that knew me down at Marion that I was in, and like they never gave me problems. They're like, oh, hey, what's up, Durbin?
Yeah.
I'm like, and you could talk to these guys, and
Sure.
you're like, hey, I need you to do this. Can you do this for me? Like, and then you find guys that like over time, you learn how to mess with guys.
Yeah. Well, and
mess with them in a way that you're just like, it's not demeaning or anything, but you're just joking with them.
Right.
And if you can get a laugh out of them and you can laugh, it makes your day go so much better.
Sure.
And I tell guys, like, if you can laugh at least once or twice throughout your shift, regardless of what it is, your day is going to be better here.
That's right.
And that's kind of how I've approached it. And I've, at least in my opinion, I've made a good rapport with a vast majority of the inmates on the compound there, and they know whenever I go into their unit, they know what to expect. They know what I'm about. They know how I do my job, and I don't have any issues. But there's other guys that have issues every time they come in.
Right.
It's crazy.
It's a balance between being too much of a hard ass and then letting them walk on you, because you and I both know there's officers that I worked with that, I get along great with the inmates. Yeah, because you give them everything and they walk all over you.
Yeah.
And then you got the other guys that are over there constantly cracking the whip and enforcing every stupid little rule. And it's like, you're just making your life miserable. Why make these, it's that balance of having respect, but at the same time, I got a job I've got to do. But then again, you don't have to enforce every stupid little rule that they have. At least for the state. I don't know. And the thing is, I don't know how the federal prisons are, but in the state prisons, the inmates run it. And I don't mean run it as far as like they're in charge, but I mean like in the dietary department, they do all the cooking. The inmates do all of the labor inside of a prison.
It's the same way federally. So like federally, a lot of the institutions have what they call Unicor. And a Unicor is they make everything. So like Marion makes all the J5 cables and stuff for the military vehicles that you plug into the radios that always never work. And so now you're like, now I know why they don't work. Like, so
to blame now.
So you have that, and then Greenville makes all the OCP tops for the Army now.
OCP.
OCP is the new camouflage that the Army uses. That kind of
okay. It used to be BDUs when I was
It used to be BDUs. Then it was ACUs, which is the worst pattern on the planet. And then now it's OCPs.
Okay.
It's like that newer camo.
I didn't know that. Inmates make that.
Yeah, inmates make those tops, yeah. And they do that at Greenville.
I'll be done. And that's one thing to anybody that's listening to this that doesn't understand. The inmates like to work. They want to work. They need that escape and a little bit of normalcy.
Yeah. They need a job. They need something that's going to keep them busy, because if they're not, all they have is time. And if they're not actively engaged, dumb things are going to happen.
Idle time is the devil's plaything.
And so a lot of everybody wants to work in Unicor because it pays the most.
Sure.
I think they make like $1.50 a week, which is it's nothing. But to an inmate who's not making anything,
that's money you can spend on commissary.
It's money they can spend on commissary, whatever.
Right.
And so then it's hard once you get that commissary job. Once you get that Unicor job, a lot of those guys, you don't hear anything out of them because they don't want to mess that up, because if they lose that job, then they lose that money. And it usually those guys are pretty solid.
Sure.
You do have ones, some guys are just never going to get it, and you're going to keep doing the same stuff. But yeah, it's one of those things where, you go in. And
so how long have you worked?
I've been in for 7 years now. I've been in the Federal Bureau of Prisons for 7 years, and I've been at Greenville for about 3. And I got there after I got off not my probationary time, because I wasn't a probationary staff member at Greenville. But I had to do. I came in like the middle of a quarter, so I couldn't bid for a post or anything like that. And so for a whole year, I bidded for a couple different posts, and I worked a housing unit. I worked in visiting, for a year, and then a spot in SIS opened up, which is their special investigations unit. And I applied and got picked up for that. And so I did that for 2 years right before I went on this most current deployment last year with the National Guard. And then I resigned that position so they could fill it, because we were backed up with cases upon cases. So I was like, they need to fill this spot so they can get caught up and stuff. So I ended up resigning and then deploying and then coming back. And now I'm just a regular correctional officer.
Okay.
Again.
So last year you said, or your last deployment, where was that?
Yeah. So this last year, we left in like the beginning of September. We went to Texas to train because the National Guard, anytime you deploy, you go to Texas for a month and you train, and then you deploy to wherever you're going. And then when you get done, you come back. So like most deployments are 12 months long, but you only really do 10 months overseas because you do a month on the front end and then you do a month on the back end where you do all of your medical out processing and stuff like that.
Okay.
But we went to Somalia, which was like, I heard we were going to Somalia, and I'm like, I want to go there. Like, I was like,
Really?
how many people? Like, the only thing people know about Somalia is Black Hawk Down. You're like,
Right.
a crazy time, right?
Right.
And so I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to go to Somalia. So we went to Somalia. We were at a small little base called Baldogle Airfield, about 40 or 50 kilometers, I think, something like that, from Mogadishu. But we were there. It was cool. It was like a small, like 500-man camp. We had special forces guys there that we worked with. So it was us.
What was your main job?
Our main job was really Sec 4. We really didn't. Our hands were kind of tied. We couldn't really do anything. They wouldn't let us go out on patrols or anything like that. So we did a lot of tower guard. I was the mortar sergeant, so I ran the mortar section, and we shot a lot of mortars. So we did a lot of deterrence stuff. So we would see stuff going on out in sector and be like, hey, can you shoot this? Sure, we'll shoot all the rounds you want.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I think we shot 500 or 600 rounds of mortars. And that ranged everywhere from HE to illumination. Most of it was illumination, just so like, hey, we see something out there. Can you shoot it and see what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And so we shot a lot of loom just to deter guys. Like, hey, we're here. Like, you might not think we're here, but we're here. It was a real boring deployment. We got hit the first week we were there. I think the night we landed, we got hit by like 14 rockets. And then 3 days later, we got hit again. Same thing. Didn't hit anything. Just, and then after that, it was just boring. Like we'd find stuff going on, like, hey, stuff's going on out there. And then we would shoot it and loom it up, and then those dudes would disappear.
What's amazing to me is that I think probably most people that are listening to this, I know I'm in this camp, you don't think of right now our military actively being engaged, overseas. And you're saying this was, last year. Did you say this was last year?
Yeah, this is last year. I got back in July of this year. So I've only been back for 5 months.
That's insane to me, is that here we are, and it's not, the news doesn't talk about it and anything.
Yeah.
And it's a National Guard unit.
Yeah.
That's getting deployed, and you're receiving fire, and you guys are engaging the enemy. That is, and nobody even knows it.
Yeah. And without getting into politics or anything about it, like, but you have, like, the news doesn't cover that stuff. They're like, oh yeah, like, trying to stay away from politics. But when Kamala Harris said there's no troops deployed in combat zones, I'm like, we're here.
What about us?
We're here. Like,
isn't that crazy?
There are guys out there doing this stuff every day. There are guys out there actively going on patrols all over the world. There's
the American people don't.
You can follow the news all you want, and that's fine. I'm not gonna say Democrat, Republican, anything like that, because I don't care. I'm an American first, and I'm for America. There are guys out there doing it every day, all parts of the world. Kenya, Somalia, Yemen, Syria, Jordan. Yeah. I got friends in Jordan right now. Like, there are guys everywhere that
it's just not talked about.
It's not talked about, but we have presence all over the place, and it's there. Yeah. And nobody would have thought an Illinois Guard unit
exactly
is going to go to Somalia. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was there. It was boring. Which being older, I'm glad, because, like, I have 2 kids at home. I just had a baby on this last deployment. And that was my wife's, like, caveat. She's like, you can deploy, but I want a baby. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Too easy.
Yeah.
So I left in September. I came home in December to watch my daughter be born. And I flew back to Africa and was getting right back at it. And
but you say boring, but you're still talking about, well, we got rocketed and we got
that was 2 times out of the 10 months we were there,
right.
There were times where it was like, you're definitely on edge because, like, stuff's going on and you get spun up and you're like, okay, what's going on? Let's get the guns laid. Let's go.
Sure.
Let's go. And then you get the guns laid and you're ready to shoot. Nothing. You're
right.
like, but, and that happens. So you get your adrenaline spike and you get, you get
right.
that, you get that. Oh yeah, we're going to We're going to lay some hate for once, finally, and then nothing. You know,
Yeah.
that's boring. But the older you get, the younger you get, you're like, dude, I want to do something. Like, there were times when I was in Iraq where I'm like, dude, can we get blown up today? Like, I'm bored. Like, we haven't had anything in a month. And then you get blown up. You're like, well, that sucks. Like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I maybe I should, because I was saying that same thing. I was joking with my friends about getting hit, and I've had friends killed overseas. I've had friends come back and commit suicide, and it's hard. It's really hard.
Why are so many veterans? I've wondered this. I've struggled with this because you know, we talked a little bit. You know, there are pictures of both of my grandfathers. One of them served under Patton in Europe. The other one was down in South America chasing Nazis. You know, my father was in Vietnam. All my uncles, I think, with the exception of one, were in Vietnam. Why do you think we are seeing such an elevated, because those guys didn't come home and kill themselves, but now we're seeing these guys, suicide is such an issue with our veterans today. What is going on?
I think so. I'm not an expert by any means.
Well, I just want your opinion.
I think that the times then and the times now are different, right? So World War II, you had a definitive enemy, right? Guys are, hey, that's the enemy over there. We see them. We know that's the enemy, and let's engage them, whatever. And you were doing it for the greater good, right? Like that's, you know,
everybody was on board.
Everybody was on board. Vietnam, a little bit different. Very, very political war. But again, kind of knew who the enemy was. Fighting, like you get that today, and a lot of World War II and Vietnam vets will tell you the same thing. And it's weird because those guys, growing up, those guys are men. They are men of men. They are, any way you look about it, they did the craziest things that you could imagine. They came back. They went back to their lives. They had families. They did great things.
Yes. 100%.
They'll tell you the same thing. The wars we fight now are so much harder because we're not fighting uniformed armies. We're fighting dudes in sweatpants. The dude that hit me with a grenade, I'll tell you this day, I can close my eyes and picture it. Maroon sweatpants, flip-flops, white and black striped shirt. That's the enemy. How do you combat that? You can't.
When you're going on a patrol and there's 100 other guys that look just like him.
Just like it. How do you everybody's the enemy at this point. You don't know.
Right.
And so a lot of guys that are coming back are just all, especially earlier on in the war, that are high strung and just constantly on edge because you never know what's going on. And you never, the IEDs, especially at the beginning of the war, were so crazy. Guys, coming back, swerving from trash in the road because it just, over there, that's commonplace.
Sure.
But when you come back to the States, it's hard to get back in that mindset. And I think the VA and the other like medical places for people don't have they weren't ready for that kind of mental anguish that guys are going through, and they're still trying to find a way to like help these guys out, but they're not sure how to help these guys out. So a lot of guys come back and they just medicated, which ends up being way worse off.
I think that's it. Part of it. I mean, obviously this is a multifaceted issue. Heavy alcohol consumption, marijuana use, anti-anxiety, anti-depression drugs is so common use in our society today.
Yeah. 100%.
And I think that doesn't help anything, and you're talking to a lifelong, guy that's drinking more beer than I ever should have. So I'm not looking down on anybody. Trust me. But I think a lot of men, we self-medicate.
Yeah.
And it's a depressant.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't help. It makes it actually eventually makes it better for a little bit.
Yeah.
But
and I think a lot of guys that come back, especially me too, when I came back from my first deployment and even my second deployment, trying to fit in. Like you just like you'll meet anybody you meet in the military, like we have the darkest sense of humor of anybody, and there's no doubt about it.
Right.
And that but it's joking to us, but like to normal people, like it's not normal. But
corrections is that way too.
Corrections 100%. And it's hard for guys to fit in, and find that normalcy. with other civilians, guys that haven't been in or haven't been deployed or anything like that. And then it's like trying to find a job for them that translates to what the brotherhood, the sense of belonging. It's hard to find those jobs out there that are like that outside of law enforcement or anything like that. And a lot of guys bounce from job to job to job, and then you're like, well, shoot, now I don't know this ain't working out, and I'm lost. I don't know what to do. And then they think that's the only way out. I had my buddy, I went to his funeral, and it was tough. I was in weapon squad with him, and when I find out our medic, he's a good friend of mine, always has been, always will be, and he's a solid dude. And but anytime he calls me, he never calls me. Anytime he calls me, it's bad news. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna answer the phone. I'm like, what happened, doc? He's like, and the last time he called me, it was that, and he told me our buddy had died and took his life, and I was like, dude, that was the happiest dude. He was always the life of the party, always having a good time. He was a lineman, like he was making good money.
Oh, wow, yeah.
He was just
yeah.
You never know what's going through somebody's head, but like it just sometimes they just it gets to be too much, and they think that's the only option, and it never is. There's always somebody. I've got a couple buddies that like I have a buddy that I reach out to regularly now because I know he's doing bad, and I'm like, dude, I'm not going to be the guy that doesn't reach out. I tell everybody this: if you ever have a problem, just call me. I was like, I have my own problems, but I'll drop everything to talk to you for an hour if that's what it takes to keep you from jumping off the deep end. And I was like, I'll do it. Right. I don't care. And my wife went to bed the other night, and my buddy called me, and I talked to him probably an hour and a half. He's like, yeah. I was like, hey, how's it going, man? Like, I haven't seen you forever. I love you, man. Like, what's going on? He's like, not doing good, man. He's like, I just lost my job. Like, child support went up. And I'm like, dude. And so we talked for an hour and a half, and I was like, hey, man, I know it's tough. I know it's tough, but hang in there. And I was like, if it's any consolation, I was like, you look into these jobs, and I told him about the Bureau of Prisons. And I'm like, dude, he's like, oh yeah, but I got into some trouble. I was like, dude, apply. What are they going to tell you? No.
Right.
I was like, just apply. I mean, it's a good job. It'll help you out.
And how can you convince somebody? I've always tried to tell my children this: whenever you're having that great day and it's like, man, everything is going right. I don't care whatever facet you're at, and everything is just clicking. It's like, man, I'm on top of the world. Understand that is a fleeting, that you're going to hit the trough. You're on top of the wave, then you're going to hit a bottom. And they're all temporary. So when you hit that bottom and you feel like you lost your job and all these things, well, it's not forever. Right now, the weight of the world's on you, but it doesn't seem like it, but you're going to be up on top of a wave again. That's what life is. It's up and it's down. It's like a wave, and you're up and you're down, and you have to try to, and how do you let these young guys understand that? Yeah, I get it, but it's temporary.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and I always try to tell guys, I'm like, look, especially Army guys or military guys in general, it's like, and my wife hates me for this, because problems will arise, and we're like, well, what are we gonna do? I'm like, it's a problem. I'll solve it, like I always do. And maybe I'll be the best, but I was like, it's a problem. It's a problem. Like, and so think about the solutions. What are our options? This is the problem at hand at the moment. Find out what your solutions can be, and then go with it. Make a plan and go with it.
That is such a military way to look at it,
because that's what the military teaches you.
That's true.
That's what the military teaches you. They teach you, hey, this is the objective. How are we going to attack this objective? How are we going to make this work? And if you can approach life like that, that military mindset helps you so much.
It's crazy. Sometimes in life, you have two decisions to make, and neither one of them is good. Yeah. But one of them might be a little bit better than the other one, because you have option A, option B. They're both bad. But you know what? Option B isn't as bad as option A.
Yeah. And then make your plan and go. And then it's just like, don't go into anything half cocked.
Right.
Right. They tell you, make a decision and go.
Yep. Don't
attack violence of action. Just go with it and go.
Yeah.
And it works out. But it's the same way within the civilian world. I mean, we both work corrections. And corrections is the same way.
Yeah.
You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. And,
so now you're still working at Greenville, but you recently just got a new job.
I don't have a new job yet. I'm working on it. It's been 6 years in the process. but I'm working on trying to get on with the U.S. Marshals. I finally got my phone call from the South Carolina office to try to asking me if I want to go to the academy in January, which I'm hoping sometime this next month I'll get an email saying, hey, you're in this academy seat. But I've been on their hire list for 6 years now.
Oh, wow.
Just waiting for an academy date. It's a process, man, and it's disheartening to an extent, because you're just like, man, this is my dream job. All I want to do is not so much run and gun, but I'm still young enough to where I want to arrest criminals and do the things that I can do, try to make a difference.
Sure.
And so, yeah, hopefully that'll work out here soon, and I'll get to. We'll probably have to relocate with the family, but it'll be good. Yeah,
that was my question. I wondered, could you still live in this area and work for the Marshal Service, or do you have to?
Yeah, so there's. I want to get out of Illinois. I think like it's just. I think a lot of people want to get out of Illinois.
Yeah.
I did put on my list Southern Illinois as a place to get. There are Marshals offices around here.
Okay.
That I could go to. But I want to get my family. I want to be somewhere warm.
Yeah.
So like I want to
after Alaska.
if I can golf, multiple days a week and year round, like
sure.
I'm all about it.
So you're a golfer too.
I love to golf.
Yeah.
I since I've been back, I tried, like, that's all I do. Like, baby's at daycare, wife's at school, son's at school. My wife's a teacher, so I have the whole day to myself. And I'm like, if I sit here, I'm just gonna fester and just do dumb things probably. Right. So I'm like, let's just get out. Let's go to the golf course. And
well, it seems like the guys, I have friends that are I've never, golf isn't my thing, but boy, it seems like the guys that love golf, man, once they get bit by that day, they love it.
It's the most frustrating, fun sport you'll ever have, because you'll go out there and you'll play and you'll just have bad shot after bad shot. And then it's like, I'm over this game. And then you'll have one great shot and you're like, oh, I'm back. All right, let's go. And it takes a while to get good. I mean, and I figured, I was
sure.
like, I'm getting older. There ain't too many sports you can play when you're older.
Yeah, right.
Can't play football anymore.
That's true.
Heck, if I put a full set of pads on, I get hit one time and I wouldn't be able to walk for a week.
Yeah.
You know? And so I go out there, I was like, you look at guys like Arnold Palmer. And guys that are like Phil Mickelson, those guys that are older and
in their 50s
and
or even
still,
those
still
guys
playing
are probably,
golf.
what, 70s?
Yeah.
And
I'm like, if I can play golf when I'm 70, if I make it to 70, if I can play golf by then, heck yeah.
And you're walking, you're outside, you're getting exercise.
It's great.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, if we end up having to move, hopefully it'll move us somewhere warm and it'll be great. But I love Illinois. I think Illinois is a great place.
It could be
downstate Illinois, at least downstate Illinois. I mean, you have all of the, especially where we live. I mean, it's nice. You have scenery. It's a farm community. They're small communities, so you're not really dealing with the big cities. But we're close enough to big cities where you can drive there.
Hour and a half from St. Louis.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame that Illinois has been mismanaged so poorly through the years, because if you think about it, on our western, we have the longest border with the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
Which there's tons of commerce that the barges. We touch a Great Lake. We're in the middle of the country. We got railroads crossing, we're one of the top agricultural producers in the world.
Yeah,
we ought to have more money than we know what we're doing with, At one time it was the huge manufacturing hub, tons of factories, which most of those went away in the 90s. But yeah, there's no reason for us not to be.
Yeah. And I think a lot, and it goes back to the military thing, and being from the small communities, you have a lot of military guys around the area, a lot of guys either in the Guard or active duty. And there's a lot of guys from the area that have done some really awesome things, that like special operations and it's different branches and stuff. And it's cool to see. And it's fun to run into those people out and about. Every once in a while, I'll run into some guys that I'm like, oh, cool, you did that, whatever. And
right.
It's awesome stuff.
Well, and just like talking to you, the thing that it is blowing me away. I didn't know there was a LURS unit, there was over in Indiana.
Yeah.
And, you're in the National Guard, you're jumping out of airplanes, you've been deployed all over the world, and then you just came back from Somalia. I mean, and that's just, it's just crazy to think that a young man listening to this, or young lady that wants to go into the military. Now, let me ask you that. Let me get your opinion on that, because my youngest son has a lot of friends right now that he just graduated high school. He's playing college baseball and he's got the itch for the military bad. And I'm like, I'm trying, and he knows he's a bright kid, but it's like, you have an ability to play a college sport.
Yeah.
I'm like, just get your degree. Once you get your 4 years, if you still have that itch, then you can go in and be an officer.
Yeah.
Which is better.
You can do ROTC in college and come in as an officer and make way better money.
Exactly. You might as well
than us lower guys.
But for a young person that's in high school that might be listening to this, what would you, as far as active duty, National Guard, what would your advice be to somebody that's, wow, I'm thinking about the military, I'd like to do it. The Guard versus active duty.
So it's funny you say that, because I just had a conversation with a kid not too long ago whose dad was my basketball coach growing up.
Okay.
And he ended up graduating basic training, top of his class, just absolute stud, just crushed everything.
Right.
Got distinguished honor grad. Like,
oh wow.
I was like, awesome. He ended up joining the National Guard.
Okay.
He was torn between active or Guard. It's different lifestyle. It depends on what you want to do. I tell everybody this, like, you have to find what you want to do. If you're not sure what you want to do in life, like if you're not sure you want to go to college or what you want to do, I told my nephew this before. My nephew was thinking about it for a while. He ended up becoming a barber and he loves that job and that's what he does now. So he didn't join the military, but I told him, I was like, dude, if you're young and you're not sure what you want to do, join the military, go active duty, see the world, do your first contract. Like, your first contract isn't always the greatest, like, because it's new.
It sucks being the new guy.
It sucks being the new guy. But basic training is not what it used to be. It's way easier now than what it used to be. And hopefully they're fixing that. But like, whenever I came in,
it sounds like
when I came in, it was rough. Like, we had smoke sessions for
as it's supposed to be
5-6 hours a day, breaking you down, trying to make you a soldier.
Right.
But it's a lot easier now. But go in, go active duty, see the world, because you're not going to get that opportunity if you're not, like, if you're young, you're single, go. Everybody I've ever heard, like, if you go to Germany for your first duty station, you're going to come back with a wife.
Yeah,
just stuff like that. But you're going to have a better opportunity to see the world as an active duty guy, because there's bases all over the world. Depending on what your branch you're in, whatever. I'm not. Yeah, being in the Army, I'm partial to the Army, but I also know that the Army's not for everybody. So find a branch that fits what you want to do. Find out what you're interested in.
Yep.
Research it before you go talk to a recruiter. Talk to somebody that's been in for a while, so that you have a kind of an idea of what's going on. So when you go to talk to a recruiter, you're not in the dark about everything, because it's a numbers game. They got to get people enlisted. They got to do these things. So like, they're going to try to do what they can to get you in.
And sometimes they're not always honest.
But it's better to go in educated than not.
Right.
Me, I made it easy for them. I'm like, dude, I just want to be infantry. Put me in.
They love
They're
you.
Like, absolutely, dude. So it was easy for me. But if your goal is to go to college, join the National Guard. You 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year.
They'll pay for everything.
They'll pay for your college, whatever. Like, that's the thing.
And give you money.
Yep. But what I also tell people is, college is not going away. It's never going to go away.
Yep.
Harvard has been here for frickin' since the 1800s.
Right.
It ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
So do your active duty time. Get out. Go to college. You're going to have seen the world. You're going to have a better discipline than what you normally would. So when it comes to studying and stuff like that, you're going to be leaps and bounds above your 18, 19-year-old
peer group,
and it's going to be different. So like, when my example, I went to college, I first studied history in secondary education. I was like, I'm going to be a history teacher. Love history. Big history buff. Love it.
Me too.
And then ended up going back to school and studying criminal justice, forensic science. But I took a counterterrorism class. And there was me and one other dude. And the guy that was in my class is a guy I replaced when I went to Iraq.
Oh, wow.
And we were the only two dudes in that class that were in our mid-20s that had seen any combat, had any idea of what counterterrorism was. So it was like, between the two of us and the professor, like, we taught the class because we had firsthand experience of how terrorism worked and all that stuff. And so we had that experience. You go on active duty, you're going to get those experiences. You're going to take classes where you're going to be the older one in your class.
Sure.
And that's not a bad thing, but you're going to have wisdom.
Right.
You're going to have that life experience.
Yep. And
you can go like, do 3 years, whatever, get out and then go do it. Because college isn't going to go anywhere. You're going to be smarter. You're going to get accepted just about anywhere you go because you have that life experience. Colleges are like, oh, he's an older person. He's been in the military. He's He's got discipline, so he'll should make good grades.
Right.
As I say, should.
Right.
My first semester back in college, I think I partied a little too hard, and then I had to buckle down and really really study hard. But I think that's my advice would be that if you're young and you're not sure, go active duty. Find what you like. Get that brotherhood. Find out what a brotherhood like or sisterhood, whatever, make those lifelong friends, because those people you serve with on active duty are gonna be friends for life. You may not talk to them every day, but they're gonna be your friends for life.
That's so true. And we were talking about the suicide thing. You had mentioned brotherhood, and I think that's something that you just don't get in the civilian world. You have friends, but it's just different. I did a 3-year enlistment in the early 90s, was never deployed, never went to combat. And I am on a group text. There's like 7 of us. And every day we're texting with each other,
Yeah.
And just because we were buddies, back in the military, there's just something different about it.
Yeah.
And like I said, and that's a non-combat vet.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's just weird. It's a different
well, you're
thing.
spending all day, every day with the same people. You're bound to make friends, and then you're gonna find those guys that have the same commonalities as you. And so you're like in Alaska, we lived and we worked in the barracks, so it was like
yes.
When
you're young, you're away from home for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
you kind of have to learn to do things on your own. Not to mention, when you're young, you don't have bills to pay, right?
Right.
So when you go active duty and you're living in the barracks, you still don't have bills to pay. You have a car payment, maybe you have a cell phone bill, but like, heck, whenever I went active duty, I sold my car. I was like, because someone in the barracks is going to have a car. Like, I'll just borrow their car. They'll let me borrow it, or they'll take me wherever I need to go, whatever.
Sure.
So I had a cell phone bill, and I just banked money, and that's all I did. And
run around and act like a hooligan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you make those friends, and it's a good time, and you'll talk to those guys 30 years from now for sure. Like, and you won't see them I haven't seen my buddy Doc for 15 years, but I guarantee if I go down there and I visit him, it'll be like nothing ever changed. It'll be the day one again, and everything will be the same as it always was whenever we first got together and first met, and it's like. It's just the way it is, and you lose a little bit of that in the National Guard. But in the National Guard, you're also typically in a unit. Like whenever I was in Effingham, a lot of those guys are from the Effingham area. So I know them outside of there. So it's a little bit different.
Right.
But you definitely develop a better brotherhood on active duty, I think.
Right.
Because you see those guys every day. You spend time with them every day,
sure.
as opposed to the Guard where you only see them once a month, unless you're friends with them outside of drill or whatever.
Right.
You only see them once a month or, 2 weeks in the summer, and that's it.
Well, Chris, I want to thank you for coming in today, man. This has been awesome. I hope you enjoyed it. This is, it's amazing to me, talking to these veterans today, how many things you guys have done. You guys have done so much stuff, and it's hard to squeeze it all into a couple hours.
Yeah,
here.
It's crazy.
But we do the best we can. Man, I hope to have you back again someday.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just
get a hold of me and I'll come out.
This has been really, really, really a good time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And
thank you for your service.
Thank you.